The men are the last vampires left in this world, yet he is bald and so skinny that only bones remain. Every day he can only barely stay alive by drinking the blood of animals. Just because the Holy Knights wanted the title of Vampire Slayer to shine more brightly, they pinned all the crimes of arson, murder, and plunder onto the man. They even toyed with him like a cat and mouse, deliberately letting him escape again and again. Not until the Knights achieved their goal did they completely execute him, tortured to the point of mental collapse. When he woke again, he found he had returned to the tent from before the Holy Knights began hunting him, and the limbs that had just been severed were, at this moment, surprisingly intact, regrown on his body. Eugene glanced at the time to the side and immediately realized he had returned to 6 months earlier. That also meant the encirclement squad had only just begun searching for his whereabouts. To avoid heading toward the same ending again, he decided to stop hiding and instead face it head-on by increasing his strength. Very soon, Eugene arrived at a place he hadn't even dared to approach in his previous life, the swamp deep in the forest. From now on, he was going to change the way he lived. A vampire can obtain energy by drinking blood. The stronger the prey's bloodline, the greater the power he can gain. And his target this time was the king of the forest, there in the swamp with its jaws gaping wide. With this battered body as it is now, the best choice he could make was to hide. But as long as he could cut even a tiny wound on it, he would be able to drink its blood. Up to now, Eugene had only one way to survive: disappear, so no one could find him. But since he already knew that path was doomed to fail, he didn't need to hesitate anymore. But just at that moment, in the instant before Eugene's longsword could pierce its body, it snapped in two. Only then did he understand. He simply couldn't break through this monster's defenses. The next second, Eugene was sent flying when it whipped its tail and struck him. The impact smashed Eugene into the mud. He lay sprawled on the ground, unable to move even a finger. It seemed Eugene had completely underestimated the Wanderer's strength. So-called Wanderers are different from those monsters that dwell in the demon world. They roam the natural world. And in an environment where magical resources are scarce, some Wanderers will nurture a magic stone within them. That thing is more precious than gemstones. To a Wanderer, the magic stone is its sole core. If I can find that stone, maybe I can turn the tables. The next second, Eugene was bitten into its mouth and dragged toward the depths of the swamp. Seeing that he no longer struggled, it opened its blood-filled maw, preparing to swallow him whole. But in the very next second, Eugene seized a gap and sank his teeth into its most vulnerable tongue. As he drank its blood, several complex runes abruptly surfaced across his skin. Before long, Eugene's shriveled body began to swell and grow again, nourished by the blood. After his stamina returned, he dragged his heavy body and crawled deeper into the monster's mouth. He hadn't expected that the magic stone hiding the soul's weak point would be tucked away at the very deepest part of its mouth. He immediately opened his mouth and swallowed it into his body in a single gulp. As the magic stone shattered, the energy was forcibly absorbed by his body. And in the next moment, the monster's body exploded on the spot, turning into countless fragments of stone that shot up into the sky. And Eugene, completely unscathed, walked out from the depths of the swamp stained blood red. After absorbing the blood, it was as if he had completed an evolution and obtained a new body. Eugene had only wanted to drink its blood, but he hadn't expected to swallow its magic stone as well. That surge of magic power far exceeded his expectations. The ability brought by the magic stone let Eugene's skin be covered in black scales. Maybe this could block sunlight and let him act even during the day. The first time Eugene heard the title king of the forest was when he had been captured by mercenaries. That beast suddenly appeared and attacked the mercenaries. Amid the chaos, he managed to drink a huge mouthful of the wounded lord's blood, and thanks to that mouthful, he was able to knock down several mercenaries and escape. Now he had accumulated some power, but compared with the Holy Knights he was still far too weak. I must avoid those battles that are certain defeats. That guy seems to possess a terrifying ability to track monsters or undead. As long as he gets serious, he'll definitely be able to find me. So I have to keep building up strength, so that when the Holy Knights come to arrest me, I'll be qualified to strike back. But the sun is about to rise. Now isn't the time to fully test the magic stone's power. I need to return to where I'm staying first. It was at this moment that Eugene noticed a fairy in the distance approaching him. I didn't expect that fake lord of the forest would die so miserably. It occupied my territory and turned my beautiful lake into a swamp. Now that it's finally dead, I'm very grateful to you. But you've polluted this land with blood, so I must make you pay the price. Eugene was startled. Who are you? Since you're asking so sincerely, then I'll graciously tell you. I am the guardian of this forest, the lord of the forest, Miriam. The forest is roaring, and the earth is enraged. You will be cursed, torn to pieces. That's what I'm saying. But you can't hear any of it, can you, bald vampire? After all, sensing the existence of souls is a special ability unique to the Miriam clan. A huge question mark practically popped over Eugene's head. What the hell are you going crazy about? Miriam was shocked on the spot. Wait, you can see me? And you can hear me talking? Eugene replied flatly, I heard you. You just called me a bald vampire. I'm terribly sorry, just now I was being too childish. I'm Miriam, a water spirit. This was originally my territory, but 15 years ago that crocodile took my things and bossed me around like a slave. Now that damned crocodile is finally dead, and this place has been purified. It's all thanks to you. But I clearly saw a bald old man get eaten by the crocodile. Could that have been you disguised so you could kill it? You really thought everything through. Listening through Miriam, Eugene discovered that one tattoo on his body was slowly fading away. He became even more puzzled. He had no early memories. He only remembered becoming a vampire, as if he had been like this since birth. The last thing he remembered was that he had 10 tattoos on his body. If these tattoos were marks, or some kind of spell, did that mean that, because of what happened today, one of them had been lifted? Thinking of this, he looked at Miriam beside him. I'm leaving. You keep guarding this forest. What? Miriam jumped in fright. Can't you stay and talk to me a little longer? I haven't talked to anyone in a long time. Can't you take pity on me? Because the longer time goes on, the fewer creatures there are that can see ghosts. Now that there's finally someone who can talk to me, you really want to leave? Eugene looked at her in confusion. Weren't you saying you wanted to turn the swamp back into a lake? Purifying this place will take a long time. I think I should offer you, this pale-skinned handsome man, some clean water. I'm a water spirit. My water tastes great. If you drink it, I can even change your skin color. In the next moment, Miriam directly spat out a jet of water. Hurry and catch my water. You're disgusting. Get the hell away from me. Seeing Eugene was really leaving, Miriam instantly panicked. Please wait, sir. I can also purify water. I can turn any water into drinkable water. If I'm peeing instead of vomiting, I can make even more water. Why are you walking faster, Mr. Nightwalker? In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. In Broadwind Village, several screams shattered the peace. Oh no, village chief, the red-eyed monster has shown up again. Looking at the pile of animal carcasses in front of them, everyone was too shocked to speak. Village chief, look, today he brought even more. What on earth does this red-eyed monster want? Why does he give us so much food every time? The red-eyed monster the villagers spoke of was a monster living at the foot of a mountain far from the village. He had lived near the village for 10 years, yet had never threatened anyone. Not only that, he would visit late at night and leave behind a pile of animal carcasses every 2 weeks. That was Eugene. At this time, Eugene asked, Can I come into the village and stay for a while? The village chief nodded. When he first appeared 10 years ago, everyone was afraid of him, but he used the corpses of his prey as tax, so the villagers tacitly accepted his existence, and this strange relationship lasted 10 years. My long isolated illness has gotten better. I came to tell you this good news. I've received a lot of help from this village, so I want to repay you. As Eugene spoke, he raised his hand and took off his hood. The next moment, all the villagers were shocked. Hey handsome, who are you? I only want to say, if you need me, call for me anytime. It's too dazzling. I'm going blind. Is he really the red-eyed monster? What's with this blinding golden light? Could the red-eyed monster who's been living near us actually be a half-elf? Or some noble of high birth? Even the village chief was stunned. I never thought he'd been wearing a mask all this time and would be this handsome. With a face like that, even me back then couldn't compare. Eugene, why are you giving all the prey to them? The water spirit looked completely baffled. What exactly are you thinking? Shouldn't vampires crave blood, slaughter, and death? Eugene's tone was calm. If you want to associate with humans in the human world, first let them see your face. It's a gesture of goodwill. So you want to be friends with them instead of eating them? And didn't you say you'd be leaving in a few days? Why are you still getting involved with them? Eugene said blandly, because soon mercenaries will raid this village and kill all the villagers. I can't stand by and do nothing about what's about to happen. Having lived again, he knew. The mercenaries came here to seize a boy and take him to the castle of this region's lord. Till when? To leave no witnesses behind, they would massacre the entire village. Really? I find it hard to believe they'd kill everyone in the village. And how do you know? Even after spending several days with Eugene, Miriam still couldn't see through him. Eugene only replied flatly, You'll soon know whether I lied. So I have to earn the villagers' trust first. Miriam was even more confused. What does winning their trust have to do with mercenaries coming? Just then, the aura that suddenly burst out from Eugene directly shook her off her feet and onto the ground. It hurts like hell. Why did you suddenly do that? But before Eugene could answer, she was startled again. Up ahead, a large group of mercenaries was walking over. And the mercenaries stared at Eugene, faces full of confusion too. Who's that? Why is the cowlick on his head so long? He looks like someone from the village. A man, and he's pretty good looking. Boss, what do we do? The original plan was to raid the village. The boss narrowed his eyes. He's not carrying any decent weapon, and he's alone. But if he shouts, it'll be trouble. A mercenary immediately understood. The next moment, he charged at Eugene with an axe in hand. This scene scared Miriam half to death. Eugene raised his palm to signal her to shut up. You won't get chopped anyway. What are you screaming for? The mercenary quickly rushed to Eugene's front. In the next second, he was split in half by a single knife hand strike from Eugene. When the mercenaries saw this, they were so scared they wet their pants. Lord Eugene is way too strong. And at this moment, Eugene's palm was already covered in scales. He stared at the mercenaries with a chilling gaze. You're not coming? Then I'll go over there. The next moment, Eugene charged into the crowd, and in the blink of an eye a few more people died by his hand. You monster! A mercenary trembled as he swung his sword at Eugene, but his sword was knocked away by Eugene's merciless iron hand. The next moment, he was cut down on the spot by Eugene. At this time, another man lifted his weapon and smashed down at Eugene with all his strength. Yet once again it was blocked head-on by Eugene's ruthless iron hand. This sight made the bald man's expression change instantly. What kind of monster is he? But before he could get an answer, the next moment, his head was separated from his body. After that, Eugene's gaze turned even colder as he swept over the remaining mercenaries. All of you, together. In an instant, screams and wails filled the scene, but before long, everything fell into dead silence. Soon, villagers who had rushed over after hearing the commotion stared at what they saw, so shocked they couldn't speak. What on earth is going on? The village chief immediately turned his gaze to the side and asked in a hushed voice, "These were all done by you?" Eugene shook his head. "No. On my way back from hunting I found them. It looks like they were ambushed on the way to Broadwind village." After speaking, Eugene raised his hand and pointed to the side. "My guess is the culprit is these things." The villagers' faces changed on the spot. In the place Eugene pointed, countless wolf corpses lay strewn across the ground. Eugene continued, "I saw them gnawing on the bodies, so I chased them. But there were too many, even using all my strength, I only killed these." After hearing this, the village chief was even more puzzled. Black wolf packs were indeed fierce, but there was no way they could ambush an entire team of mercenaries. At this time, a villager reported, "There are marks from wolf claws on the bodies. I've got them too. Same on my side. It really looks like they were attacked by a wolf pack." But the doubts in the village chief's heart didn't lessen at all. Still, he bowed his head to Eugene in apology. "I shouldn't have doubted you just now." Eugene shook his head, unconcerned. Then he looked at the black wolves' corpses and asked the village chief what he planned to do. These bodies couldn't just be left here. The village chief said he would carry them back to the village and bury them. After seeing the details clearly, the village chief was already sure. The wolf pack only appeared after the mercenaries died. So those claw marks and bite marks were left by Eugene. But he didn't understand why Eugene would lie. Was it for his image? But even if he left directly, people would naturally assume the wolves did it anyway. So it seemed he was laying out a plan. Thinking of this, the village chief felt he understood. "Oh, right." As Eugene spoke, he rummaged in his chest. "I just searched the bodies, trying to find something that could be given to their families. There's a letter inside. Can you read?" When the village chief saw the envelope, his face changed. "That's Lord Tilwyn's seal." He immediately took the envelope from Eugene's hand. But when he read what was written, his whole body jolted. He urgently pressed, "Where is Felid?" "Felid is in the village." After answering, a villager asked the village chief, "What happened?" The village chief explained in a lowered voice, "Felid might be Lord Tilwyn's illegitimate son." Eugene's expression stayed calm, because he already knew these mercenaries had come for Felid. Moreover, he had forced quite a bit of information out of the mercenary boss's mouth. "You were waiting for us from the start? Why are you targeting us?" "We were clearly just following orders. I have no intention of interfering with you doing your job, but that village is mine." "I'm sorry, I didn't know that was your village, but we weren't going to kill them. An illegitimate son of the Tilwyn family is hiding his identity and hiding in that village. We were just going to take him away." "For a reason like that, you brought so many people? You're really lying. If you don't spit out the truth right now, I'll send you to meet your great-grandma." The boss trembled in fear. Actually, the one who hired us wasn't the head of the Tilwyn family, but Kamala Tilwyn and Wursel Tilwyn. I'm guessing this is political infighting among nobles. We were only responsible for kidnapping that illegitimate son. We brought so many people just in case something went wrong. I've said everything I should. Please spare me. So he got involved too. Eugene clenched his teeth. Hatred burned hot in his chest. Wursel Tilwyn, the commander of the vampire hunting squad. But Wursel was a noble knight. The village massacre might have been these mercenaries acting on their own. Yet it was precisely their massacre that drew in the Holy Knights. In his previous life, he was exposed because of this, discovered by the Holy Knights, and finally died miserably under Knight Kate's sword, becoming a tool for him to build his reputation. "Please, spare us. We really didn't know that was your village." "Fine. On your way back, watch out for wolf packs." "You're really going to let me go?" The bald man couldn't believe it. "Thank you so much for your mercy." But as soon as he finished speaking, his head was separated from his body. There was even relief from surviving the ordeal still on his face. "Lord Eugene is so cool. I really thought you were going to spare him just now." Lord Eugene's acting is getting better and better. Even I was fooled. "Shut up. He knew I was a vampire. There's no way I could let him go. After that, his gaze shifted coldly to the side again. Looks like they smelled the blood and came running too. The sun's about to rise. Finish this quickly. Time returned to the present. After the village chief finished reading the letter, his face turned deathly pale. Those dead mercenaries were all Lord Tilwyn's guards, who had come to escort Felid to Tilwyn Castle. But now they were all dead. Then how were they supposed to send Felid to the Lord's castle? At this moment Eugene stepped forward. If you needed to send Felid to the castle, I could help. I had lived in the forest for a long time. I should have been able to escort him safely to the city. You were going to escort Felid to the city? But we couldn't let you take that kind of risk. Eugene shook his head to indicate it was fine. A knight could never refuse an opportunity to help others. Lord Eugene was simply too cool. But after he said that, Miriam was startled. The villagers all froze too. You actually said you were a knight? You'd really got some nerve, hadn't you? Sorry, I was only introducing myself so late. Actually, I was of the Eugene family, young Eugene. Hearing this, the villagers were instantly petrified. Miriam jumped out to sneer. Who would have believed that kind of nonsense? But the next second, the villagers erupted. No wonder I had felt he was different at first glance. If he was a noble, that explained it. No wonder he could have lived alone in the forest. So it was a knight's swordsmanship supporting him. Miriam could hardly have believed it. This bunch of villagers had actually believed him. But Mr. Eugene, our village was very poor, and we couldn't offer you separate compensation. Eugene said blandly, it was fine, but I was a bit tired today. Could you let me rest in the village for one day, and we would set out tomorrow? Time quickly came to the next day. After seeing the sun rise, Eugene decided to try whether he could withstand the burning of sunlight using his hardening ability. The excruciating pain he had expected did not appear. There was only a slight sensation of heat. In that case, this trip will be much easier. Why did you tell them that kind of lie? Eugene looked at Miriam in confusion. Which line are you talking about? You said you were a knight, but you can't read. Sooner or later you'll be exposed. You're right, Miriam. Lies will be exposed one day. But it doesn't matter. I'm leaving anyway. But I still don't understand why you had to tell that kind of lie. Just then, a villager's shout came from the doorway. Eugene answered and turned to look at Miriam. Listen, Miriam. Sometimes people would rather believe authority than believe a pile of explanations. A red-eyed monster, and a noble. Who would they rather believe? Of course I could lie casually, but if I elevate my status, I can compress 100 lies down to 10. A noble might not necessarily believe me, but this village might be the only place that would accept this kind of temporary lie. So from now on, I'm going to make this lie become the truth. Mr. Eugene, to avoid your eyes causing misunderstandings, I wrote a letter explaining the reason. Please be sure to take good care of young Master Felid for us. At this time Felid also stepped forward. I'm looking forward to traveling with you, Mr. Eugene. I was Yen Eugene. Pleased to meet you. The two of them soon set out on their journey. That village over there, was that Brahm's village? Felid nodded. Yes, that's what the sign says. You can read? I recognized some characters. My late mother taught me. But my mother's background was very humble too. She said it was the one she loved who taught her to read. I just never thought that person would be Mr. Tilwyn. At this moment Miriam also popped out. Why didn't you let him teach you to read? No sooner said than done. But after hearing it Felid froze. Isn't Mr. Eugene a knight? A knight can't read? Eugene took a deep breath and slowly let it out. It was all an empty name. My family declined long ago. I've lived until now relying not on reading and writing, but on a sword. Seeing the sadness Eugene had forced down, Felid's heart tightened. Could it be, Mr. Eugene's family was already completely gone? Along the way Eugene remained silent, his expression suppressed. Instead, Felid became even more certain of his judgment. Mr. Eugene, your acting really was top-notch. No wonder you were able to fool that damn crocodile back then. Look, what have you talked him into becoming? I want to apologize to you, Mr. Eugene. Actually, I used to doubt you. One moment you seemed like a monster, and the next like a noble. I think it was because in the village you were always called a monster. It was my prejudice. From now on, I'll confirm with my own eyes, and no longer only listen to rumors. I'll teach you all the characters I know, so you won't be embarrassed in front of others. Just then, Eugene's pupils contracted. In the next moment, he raised his hand and directly caught the arrow that shot toward Felid. Felid collapsed to the ground in terror on the spot, his small eyes full of big confusion. Were these people bandits? Eugene clenched the arrow, his gaze icy, locking onto the few men ahead. Brother, your archery is getting more and more accurate now. You're much better than before. Look at that kid's expression. Did he piss himself? Put down your luggage, and hand over what's in your pockets too. Otherwise you'll have to. But before he could get that last word die out, he was split in half by Eugene's sword. His head rolled and bounced on the ground like a ball, and in the blink of an eye it rolled to Felid's feet. That man's mouth was wide open, and his eyes were still staring. Felid nearly threw up his last meal. Only then did the others react. A chill surged from the soles of their feet straight to the top of their heads. After robbing for so many years, they knew, this time they had run into a real monster. What was it you just told us to do again? I didn't hear clearly. You bastard. How dare you kill my beloved family and friends? The man roared, swinging a hoe as he charged at Eugene. The next moment, he too was split in half by Eugene's sword. Eugene swung back with another slash, beheading 2 more people in a row. The last man was so scared that 2 drops of urine even leaked out. He turned and tried to run. Eugene raised his long sword and pressed his wrist downward. In the next second, the sword tip stabbed precisely into the man's chest. The surroundings instantly fell silent. I really don't understand why, when humans face people weaker than themselves, they think of killing and plundering. Just because the other side looks weak, does that mean you can bully them at will? As Eugene spoke, he shifted his gaze to Felid at the side. If I learned to read from you, would I be able to understand things like this? Not long after, the 2 of them, Eugene, finally arrived at Brahm's village. Come take a look. Rare medicinal herbs just in from the northern dungeon. 1 bundle for 20 copper coins. But the shop over there only charges 10 companions. What do you know? These are high-end goods. Felib lowered his voice, his face full of vigilance. If you want to buy things here, you have to be careful. I came here a few times before with the village chief. These merchants are very aggressive, and it's easy for them to rip you off. Eugene nodded. You're right, but remember, we're barefoot right now. After saying that, he cast his gaze toward the stall beside them. The next moment, he took out black wolf pelts and slapped them down on the stall with a snap. The shopkeeper saw them at a glance and froze. Black wolves were rare to begin with, and the other party had more than 1 pelt. Then he looked at their shabby clothing, like a drifter. In an instant, the shopkeeper came to a conclusion. A big fish had taken the bait. This windfall fortune had finally come to him. You've got some pretty serious damage on these pelts. At most I can offer 18 silver coins. Eugene's gaze darkened. 18 silver coins, that much? But when the shopkeeper met Eugene's eyes, his heart went cold. Did he know the market? The shopkeeper immediately changed his tune. Of course, black wolf pelts are relatively rare. I can add a bit more. Eugene's heart jolted. It could go up? Seeing his reaction, cold sweat immediately ran down from the shopkeeper's shiny forehead. It's your first time here, right? For the sake of doing more business in the future, I'll give you 25 silver coins. Eugene trembled all over. A few black wolf pelts could actually sell for 25 silver coins. But his stare at the shopkeeper was too cold, and the shopkeeper only felt his back go numb. Not satisfied with 25? At most I'll give you 27 silver coins. Eugene's eyes instantly widened. The shopkeeper cursed inwardly. What was with this guy? He just stared at me without saying anything. If you've got an opinion, name your price. Felid was startled at the sight as well. 27 silver coins was enough for the whole village to live frugally for 10 years. 30 silver coins. I really can't go any higher, deal. In the blink of an eye, it was night. These worm-like things, are they letters? Eugene looked utterly confused. He couldn't tell at all what this pile of things was supposed to be. After selling the wolf pelts today, Eugene also bought himself a set of new clothes. Unlike what Felid had said, Eugene instead felt the merchants here were unusually generous. He just stood there, and the other party proactively stuffed him with a bunch of extra services. But Miriam still couldn't figure it out. Why did Eugene choose this kind of clothing? Usually when you talk about vampires, aren't they wearing silk finery, living in magnificent castles drenched in moonlight, giving orders to servants, drinking fresh blood like fine wine, and living luxurious lives? I think you misunderstand vampires, Miriam. At least, I'm not like that. And didn't you say you'd been living in the wetlands? How do you know so much? Miriam explained. Sometimes senior folks who couldn't get by in the human world would come back, and they told me lots of stories about the outside. Besides, vampires live a long time, right? Unless their hearts are pierced by a silver knife or a wooden stake, or someone stuffs garlic into them, they can live at least 200 years. So you should also try to learn as much as you can. Where did you hear that? I quite like eating garlic. And no matter who it is, if their heart gets pierced, they'll die, right? At this time, Felid also returned to the camp. Mr. Eugene, were you just talking to someone? I was just talking to myself. Is your stomach feeling any better? Felid shook his head. It's fine. I'm just not used to seeing corpses yet. The night is still long. I'll teach you to read. Before long, Eugene discovered something that even Felid found shocking. Reading, was it really this easy? I think it's just that, Mr. Eugene, you're too amazing. Everyone says I'm smart, but it still took me several months to learn. You remembered it after just one look. You flatter me, Felid. But you're about to become a noble's child. Just knowing how to read isn't enough. Felid's face instantly darkened. No matter how many times I think about it, it feels like a dream. Mother never told me any of this. I don't even dare to hope that Mr. Tilwyn will welcome me. Just then, a mercenary squad waved at them in greeting and walked over. The moment Eugene saw them, his heart tightened, and his hand reflexively went to the sword hilt. These people had standardized weapons and equipment. They were completely different from the ones they had met before, regular mercenaries. Don't be nervous. I saw you with a child, and just wanted to ask where you were headed. The other party smiled kindly, but Eugene didn't dare relax at all. Yet he also knew that forcing a lie would only make him more suspicious. He said, "We're going to Mr. Tilwyn's castle." "What a coincidence, we're going to Mr. Tilwyn's castle too. Why don't we travel together? In return, we'll provide you with drinks and mutton." At this moment, a blonde guy behind the man stepped out with an annoyed look. "Captain Pack, why be so polite to them?" Before he could finish, Pack raised his hand and pressed him back down. "This kid is called Laban. He doesn't know the rules. I hope you won't mind." "My name is Pack. What about you?" Eugene gave his name. "I was the knight Yen Eugene." Laban burst out laughing on the spot. "Did you hear that, Captain Pack? That guy actually said he's a knight. He doesn't have a horse, and he's not wearing armor. What kind of knight is that? And he even said he's Yen of the Eugene family. I've never even heard of that family." Are you pretending to be a knight?" Eugene's expression had already sunk to the bottom. They were just passing by, yet the other party was pressing them aggressively. "If it weren't for Felid's safety, I'd twist your head off right now and kick it like a ball." At this moment, Pack walked up. His eyes were icy as he stared straight at Laban. In the next second, he slammed a punch into Laban's face. Laban went flying more than 10 meters. How heavy that punch was could be seen at a glance. "I deeply apologize for his rudeness, Mr. Eugene. Please forgive this newcomer's recklessness." Eugene waved his hand. "I forgive you this time. Find a place to settle down as soon as possible." Very soon, Pack's team had their camp set up. At this time, Laban, who had been knocked out by a single punch, also woke up. "What's going on? How did I fall asleep? Why does my face feel so hot?" Seeing him wake, Pack's expression became even uglier. "Do you know you almost died just now? You actually went off on a night with zero guard up? Because of you, we almost all died just now." Laban was dismissive. "That guy dressed so shabbily. What's so scary about him?" Pack trembled with rage. "You say he was shabby? Do you know how much that robe of his cost?" That was the latest high-end robe. The lining was precious black wolf pelt. Even the cheapest model cost more than 10 silver coins, at least half a year of your wages. And he was reading a letter, which means he was at least literate. Would a literate person be some ordinary nobody? More importantly, he was this close to drawing his sword. "We all could have died. If we were lucky, maybe I would have lived." Laban felt his chest go cold as he listened. "Captain, how did you know he was close to drawing his sword?" "While you were talking nonsense, I was watching the surroundings the whole time." That knight had his right hand hidden inside his robe, and his left foot slightly drawn back. That was a stance that let him adjust his center of gravity at any time and take the line for drawing his sword. "If I'd been a half step slower, your head would already be off." "If he'd drawn his sword, would even you, Captain, have been unable to stop him?" "You kid have no idea how terrifying knights are. All knights come from ancient, noble families. From childhood they hold wooden swords, and they spend their whole lives learning how to kill enemies, daring to break into unknown dungeons with nothing but a sharp blade. They don't retreat even in the face of death. They also go to the battlefield to kill their own kind, trading military merit for appointments. In the end, the ones who survive and receive their family's formal investiture, none of their hands are clean. Besides, impersonating a knight is itself a grave crime. Anyone who dares impersonate one won't be simple. Unless you have absolute confidence in your sword, you don't even deserve to say the word knight. Among those who offer their lives to the sword, how many do you think can become true knights?" For someone who looked very young to dare to publicly call himself a knight meant he was very strong. Laban's throat was dry. He swallowed. Was he even stronger than you, Captain?" Pack's expression turned solemn as he nodded. "And he also said they were going to Lord Tilwyn's castle. There's news that a dungeon might open there. I guess they're going for that. Our destination is the same, so we'll run into him again." The two spoke very quietly, but Eugene heard every word clearly. So the title knight was really that useful. But he also understood, he couldn't rely on those two words forever. He had to make a few more preparations. Thinking that, Eugene lifted his leg and walked over to Pack and the others. "You said you were also going to Lord Tilwyn's castle? Since our destination is the same, would you be willing to travel with us?" Almost at the same instant, a dazzling golden light stabbed at their eyes, making it impossible for them to open them. Early the next morning, the group arrived at Matra in Tilwyn territory. Along the way, everyone was firmly convinced that Eugene was a knight. If things went smoothly, they would keep traveling together to their destination. But the problem was, once they arrived, what would happen then? Just then, the water sprite Miriam hopped out. "Following your arrangement, I went to eavesdrop on those mercenaries chatting. They said Lord Tilwyn's body was in terrible shape, so bad that it wouldn't be strange if he suddenly died tomorrow. Someone also said an unknown dungeon had recently appeared in this territory. Whoever could clear it could make a fortune. But the Tilwyn family was short of both money and manpower right now, so they hadn't dared to open it. Most importantly, if Lord Tilwyn died soon, what would happen to that child? What if he got killed by his brothers like a dog? Even if he didn't die, wouldn't he just become an orphan again? Eugene's tone was flat. It had nothing to do with him. Lord Tilwyn's summoning field might only have been because he wanted to see his own child once before he died. No matter what the ending was, from this moment on, their fates would change. Very soon, they arrived at Lord Tilwyn's castle, Rose Castle. It was far too luxurious. You had to hurry up and level up, Lord Eugene, and strive to live in such a grand castle in the future. But the next second, it was pinched in Eugene's hand. So now you even dared to pat my head, huh? At this time, someone stepped forward and asked everyone to explain their purpose. Hello, sir. We are the Mercenary Corps. May I ask which noble lord you are? I am Cora Tilwyn. Are those goods behind you ours? Yes, we delivered them safely. Then unload them quickly. After saying that, he turned his gaze to Eugene's party. And who are you? Pleased to meet you. I was the Knight Yen Eugene, and this child was. But before Eugene could finish, he was interrupted by another group's voices. When he saw who it was, Eugene's pupils suddenly contracted. That voice, that face, even if he turned to ashes, Eugene would recognize him. The one who had first seen through that he was a vampire. The commander who had led the vampire hunting force in pursuing him for a full half-year. The real knight, Visser Tilwyn. What were you doing here? Didn't I tell you this was our garrison's job? Cora's face instantly darkened. Do I have to report everything I do to you? You make it sound like you're the heir. You knew I didn't mean that, and the air immediately filled with the smell of gunpowder. At this moment, Eugene stepped forward and said this was a letter from Broadwind leader Guff. Broadwind? Hearing that, Visser was about to reach out to take it, but Eugene suddenly pulled the letter back. Then he handed it straight to Cora. Cora thought to himself, this kid was pretty sensible. Visser froze on the spot, and his face visibly turned the color of pig liver. What? The mercenaries were attacked by a wolf pack, and there were no survivors. And this child you brought was actually father's illegitimate son? Only after Cora said it did he realize it was inappropriate, and he turned to Fila to apologize. Sorry, I'm Cora. Are you our new brother? We've been waiting for you. Father really wants to see you. But Visser's face grew even darker. This child who looks like a vagrant beggar is actually my brother? Someone, take him to get washed clean, and then change him into proper clothes. After saying that, Visser turned around and left. At this moment, Eugene called out to stop him. Visser turned back, his gaze icy. Eugene said he wanted to discuss the reward first. Let me go see Lord Tilwyn. Anger instantly crawled across Visser's face. The exalted Lord Tilwyn was someone you could see just because you wanted to? My father's health was very poor. I would pay you what you were owed in gold coins. There was no room for negotiation at all? I went to great trouble to bring your younger brother here. I didn't want to repeat myself. Don't force me. I didn't want to repeat myself. Don't force me. The atmosphere instantly tightened to the extreme. At this moment, Cora stepped out. We were going to take our new younger brother to see father anyway. Bringing him along too. I didn't think there was any problem. Do you know what you're saying? Father was awake for less than an hour a day. You still wanted him to waste precious time on a stranger? Visser was furious to the extreme. Even his own brother was helping an outsider. So now you even want to meddle in and control father's schedule? After Cora finished speaking, he looked at Eugene again. Looks like you won't be able to see my father. Please return home safely. I'll take you around first, little brother. Do you want to tour the castle first? Watching their departing backs, Eugene fell into thought. At this moment, a loud shout interrupted Eugene's thoughts. So you were here. I'd been looking for you for a long time. These were all mercenaries hired by the villagers. But they didn't train and kept wandering around. So I wanted to bring them here. But they weren't very willing, so I used a bit of forceful means. I guess they were also here for a dungeon raid. Hearing this, Visser glanced at Eugene behind him. Then he stepped forward and patted the newcomer on the shoulder, signaling that there were too many eyes and ears here. Go inside and talk. At this time, Pack also walked over. Wasn't that person Sir Galfred Frederick, who had been very popular recently? I heard he recently took first place in the tournament hosted by the Evergreen family, and his prospects were very bright. I heard that day he defeated more than 1,000 opponents in one go. Wasn't that absurd? Hearing this, Eugene was curious. What was a big shot like that doing here? I guessed it was also for the newly appeared dungeon. Even though this place was far from the capital, for a knight, successfully opening a dungeon was a huge merit. I guess Sir Galfred Frederick wanted to use this dungeon as a stepping stone to enter an even greater family. Was that it? Eugene fell into thought. Then he looked at Pack. Your job was already finished, right? Then, could I become your next client? Night came quickly. Cora looked at Visser outside, who was interrogating the mercenaries, and felt both anxious and furious. This time I had to successfully open this dungeon. Ever since father's health worsened, he had started openly fighting for the position of heir. Now he had even used his connections to invite Sir Galfred Frederick over. I could tell he meant to open the dungeon. If he pulled it off, everyone would stand on his side. When that happened, the position of heir would have nothing to do with me anymore. What could I do? I couldn't just hire a random bunch of people and send them to their deaths. Damn it, what was I supposed to do? Just then, a servant's report came from outside the door. Mr. Eugene wanted to see you. Eugene. Cora's heart jumped. Wasn't that the knight from earlier? Let him in. Let him in. Welcome, Mr. Eugene. You don't need to worry about Felid's safety. When father wakes up, he will also give you the reward you deserve. But just then, Eugene sat down directly. Cora froze on the spot. This guy really didn't treat himself like an outsider. At this time, Eugene said he had an official matter and wanted to have a proper talk with the owner of this territory. Cora's heart jolted again. Cora's heart jolted again. He sat down too and stared at Eugene. What did you want to talk about? I wanted to join the dungeon raid. If you let me join, I could also give you some additional benefits. Cora was stunned. The next second, he laughed out loud. You're more interesting than I thought, but a shabby knight like you, what benefits could you give me? I really can't think of why I should agree to you. Because this would do you no harm at all. Eugene's tone was steady. As for the dungeon rewards, I only wanted 100 silver coins, plus half the loot other than the demon stone. Cora fell silent and began to calculate. The terms were indeed tempting. And precisely because of that, I found you suspicious. Eugene raised a hand indifferently. Up to you whether you agree or not. Anyway, the one stuck in a bind wasn't me. But it seems you don't have much time left. You brat, you really are more interesting than I thought. Cora narrowed his eyes. I really can't find a reason to refuse an opportunity like this. Then happy cooperation, Mr. Eugene. Eugene's heart sank. Pack had been right. The scene shifted to the other side. Visser, after receiving the news, looked displeased. Cora had actually said he wanted to add new members to the assault team. What did he think a dungeon was? Some kid's playground. There were only life and death there. Anyone who got in the way, they couldn't let go. After saying that, Visser turned his gaze to Galfred Frederick at the side. Although my brother didn't get along with the local nobles and didn't have many connections, that night was, after all, brought by my brother. If things really came to that point in the end, I hope you could explain a few words for me. I would be grateful. Galfred Frederick was full of confusion. Why was he pushing this kind of dirty work onto him? Just then, Cora also walked over. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. Then let me formally introduce him. Starting today, this knight will join us. Starting today, this knight will join us, Mr. Yen Eugene, and his mercenary group. Visser's eyes changed on the spot the moment he heard Eugene. He immediately spoke up. Someone of unknown origin and unknown ability couldn't just be let into this team. Origin? Cora thought for a moment, then said, at least, I can vouch for his strength. My new little brother told me. Mr. Eugene protected him from a band of vagrant brigands with nothing but a short sword. Visser was startled to hear it. The bandits around the territory were a headache even for him sometimes. If it was true, then this man really had skill. Thinking that, Visser raised the longsword in his hand. In the next moment, he threw the sword straight at Eugene, and Eugene's eyes sharpened. Eugene's eyes sharpened. He drew his sword in an instant, flicked and jolted it, and knocked the flying longsword away. Seeing this, Galfred Frederick finally showed a smile. He stood up and spoke. I apologize for my rudeness when we first met. The skin you have exposed has no obvious scars, and no sunburn. You look like you were carefully raised. So, could you let me see what you're really capable of, young master? Very soon, the two of them arrived at the training ground. Hurry up, Sir Galfred Frederick announced a duel. If you go late, you won't be able to squeeze in. There were already so many people? I heard Sir Galfred Frederick could tear monsters into pieces with his bare hands. Isn't that a bit too exaggerated, brother? Then what about his opponent? Have you heard of him? No matter who the opponent was, you should mourn for him in advance. At this moment, in the arena, Galfred Frederick looked excited as he stared at Eugene and asked, were you ready? After receiving an affirmative answer, he raised the longsword in his hand. But the next second, a huge question mark practically popped up over his forehead. What was this kid doing? And Eugene looked at him with the same baffled expression. In the next moment, as if he suddenly realized something, he raised his own longsword, copying the other man's movement. Copying the other man's movement, he raised his own longsword. At this time the referee announced the start. As the great bell rang out with a single strike, the two of them instantly closed in and clashed at close range. But at first contact they separated, and immediately opened distance again. Come on then, get over here. Eugene flared up on the spot. In the next moment he charged straight at Galfred Frederick. The two tangled together in combat again. The onlookers were all stunned. Boss, you were right. I never thought even Sir Galfred Frederick would be getting beaten down by Lord Eugene. Pack, however, shook his head. Lord Galfred was deliberately retreating. He was still testing the limits of Lord Eugene. The truth was exactly as Pack judged. Galfred really was probing Eugene. But Eugene's sword path was rougher and wilder than he'd imagined. It had almost no fixed habitual motions, and you couldn't see any commonly used school. Obviously, his swordsmanship wasn't refined, and his whole self looked like it had been forged by living out in the wilderness. In the next moment, it was as if Galfred figured something out, and he smiled as he spoke. Say, you aren't pretending to be a knight, are you? Your swordsmanship has no foundation, and your posture is pretty sloppy. You'd never received formal training. You were just brute forcing it with physical attributes. Eugene hadn't expected him to see through it in just a few moves, though swordsmanship wasn't everything a knight was. You talk too much. Did I hit the mark, so you got angry out of embarrassment? As long as you beat me, I'll shut up. Come on, then. As Galfred spoke, he swung his sword and cleaved head-on toward Eugene's longsword. In the next moment, he actually chopped Eugene's longsword clean in two. Immediately after, he followed through and slashed at Eugene again. The terrifying force instantly blasted Eugene flying. Visser was overjoyed when he saw it. Beautiful. Eugene hit the ground hard. But in the next second, he propped himself up and stood. Good. You'd succeeded in making me angry. As the words fell, Eugene grabbed his sword and charged at Galfred again. When their swords collided, the booming sound linked into a continuous roar. Galfred was stunned on the spot. He had actually learned my sword sequence from just now? Immediately after, he was even more excited. This guy was too interesting. In the next moment, Eugene leapt and hacked down, going straight for Galfred. Galfred stayed unhurried. Instead, he smiled and raised his sword to meet him. But the next second, the long sword in his hand was actually, just like before, forcibly chopped in two by Eugene. Then, almost at the same time, the two of them threw away their broken swords. Fingers interlocked, they latched onto each other with a death grip and began a pure contest of strength. You brat, you really are too interesting. Galfred's heart shook. His build was so much smaller than mine, yet his strength was so outrageous. Just in terms of strength, he was even far above me. But in experience, I still had the advantage. In the next moment, he deliberately leaned back and used the leverage to yank. And Eugene, carried by his own explosive force, had his center of gravity tilt and fell straight down. It was over, kid. Eugene's pupils contracted. In the next moment, he slammed his palm onto the ground and pushed himself up, and just like before, forcibly disrupted Galfred's stance. In an instant, Galfred's body was about to topple sideways. Galfred was horrified inside. This guy still wasn't a knight. Yet he had a beast-like learning speed and crisis response. What on earth was he? Looks like I lost. In the next moment, Eugene's fist smashed hard into Galfred's face. The tremendous force burst out. Galfred was blasted flying, and even smashed a big hole in the wall of the training ground. He passed out on the spot. The entire venue fell into dead silence in an instant. After a long time, the referee finally found his voice again. I hereby announce the winner, Knight Yen Eugene. Just who is that knight? He's ridiculously strong. He even beat Sir Galfred, the Thousand Slayer. See that man over there? He's my big brother. Pack, beside him, was left speechless when he heard that. Where did that defiant arrogance of yours go? And at this moment, on Galfred's side, the unconscious Galfred finally woke up. He stared at Eugene, his eyes full of excitement. This kid is amazing. Let's give a round of applause to tonight's winner. The scene instantly erupted. Everyone was cheering wildly for Eugene's victory. Of course, everyone except Visser. From that day on, people's opinion of Eugene flipped completely. Oh my, who do we have here? Isn't this my most capable knight, Sir Yen Eugene? Did you sleep well last night? Pretty well, I guess. If it was pretty well, I'll take that as you slept well. But the hospitality I sent over, why did you refuse all of it? Eugene fell silent. If you sent gold, silver, and jewels I could still take them. But what did it mean to send 2 maidservants? At this time Laban also ran over. Brother Eugene, I heard you calling me, so I rushed right over. Korra thought to himself, this kid was pretty likable. But the next second, he was shoved aside by Galfred. So that's why there are so many people here. Isn't this my friend, my comrade in arms, Sir Yen Eugene? Did you sleep well last night? Pretty well, I guess. Then I'll take that as you slept well. But my face keeps throbbing with pain. I couldn't sleep at all. Do you see this bruised, swollen face of mine? So was he asking to get hit a few more times? You happen to be free today too? The weather's nice. How about we do another sparring match? Do you mind if I watch from the side? Just like that, overnight Eugene became a sir, and Galfred never again mentioned anything about Eugene being a fake knight. Korra also assigned a few servants to attend to him. But Eugene couldn't feel happy at all. Could you stop fussing over me? Sorry, my lord. This is Lord Korra's order. To ensure you tackle the dungeon in the best possible condition, you must eat well, drink well, and sleep well. So I was assigned to take charge of your meals and daily needs. How is the lighting? We heard your skin is sensitive, so we drew the curtains very tightly. If you tell me your preference in wine, I can also recommend a few varieties. Don't go saying vampires don't need to eat. If you really eat all of that, your stomach will hurt. Eugene looked helpless. I appreciate your kindness. I'll arrange my own meals. Everyone, please withdraw. The servants looked troubled, and Eugene added, I'll personally go speak to Lord Korra. Besides, I also prefer to be alone. Seeing this, the servants could only leave. And so a few more days passed. Even those who had once doubted him dispelled their suspicions one by one. You're free again today? Let's go practice. Looks like you still want a beating. If you don't trade blows, you'll never know the result. Just then, Felid walked over from behind the crowd. Sir Eugene, have you been doing well lately? Time went back to earlier. I was wrong, my lord. Please spare me. It was because you didn't do the job properly back then that you caused this mess. If you had killed that little brat directly in the village, that red-eyed knight would never have come to Rose Castle. Now you've ruined my entire plan. I sincerely apologize, my lord. That mercenary corps was usually reliable at getting things done. I don't want to hear excuses. They're just a rabble of useless trash. They actually got wiped out by a pack of black wolves, and you couldn't even see that coming, yet you still dare to hand my task to them. Since you don't know how to judge people, then there's no need for you to keep your eyes either. In the next moment, a piercing, miserable scream echoed through the room. Only after a long time did the screaming finally stop. What should I do now? I can't exactly kill someone who's already entered the castle in public. Guess what good idea I just thought of? With this method, disposing of the body will be very clean. Lord Visser wants me to take you to raid the dungeon? I'm very sure you understood. Can't you see it yet? I understood. He wanted me to enter the dungeon to die. I have a way to let you live. Become my servant, Felid Tilwyn. You're already 16 and have completed the coming-of-age ceremony. You don't need a guardian's consent anymore. You can choose your own path, either keep holding your breath and wait for someone else to finish you off, or struggle until the very last moment. Time quickly came to the day the dungeon opened. I'm guessing you're all experienced knights or mercenaries, so I'll only say this once. Our objective is to carve out a route to the area where intermediate monsters appear. If we encounter advanced monsters, retreat immediately. First, scout this area and confirm whether there are any other dungeon entrances nearby. Good thing we brothers are just porters. This time we won't have to bleed. Brother, don't you have any dreams at all? Once we get in, we can pretend we're injured and stay at the back of the team. Then we can casually pick up stuff they don't want, and it'll be enough for us to eat for a lifetime. If they really get wiped, we can also run ahead of time. Just then, Visser walked over to their side. You're not working. What are you chatting about? Where's Felid? Upon seeing Visser, the soldiers hurriedly saluted. Why don't I see Felid here? At this moment, a soldier pointed to the side. My lord, do you mean that child? Visser frowned and looked over, only to see Felip standing beside Eugene. Visser flew into a rage on the spot. Felid, what are you dawdling here for? Did you forget what I told you? Hurry up, put on your pack, and go stand by at the designated position. You detestable little brat. I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? I've made myself perfectly clear. Return to your post immediately. As Visser spoke, he reached out to grab Felid. But in the next moment, Eugene clamped down hard on his wrist. Don't touch him. You've been spouting nonsense since just now. You actually want to throw a boy who's only ever held a kitchen knife into the dungeon entrance? What would you know? I'm just trying to make my younger brother stronger. First, recognize your place. Eugene stared at him. You're not qualified to meddle with that child. In my view, it's you who hasn't recognized your place. Felid has already become my servant. From now on, he's under my protection. Everyone here can bear witness. Touch a single finger on him and I'll take it as you declaring war on me. If you want to loosen up your joints, I'm ready anytime. Nonsense. Who allowed you to do this? This isn't over. Don't think adopting someone else's bastard is that simple. Just wait. I'll definitely make you pay the price for what you've done. What's wrong with you? Are you worried about leaving your younger brother in Mr. Eugene's hands? I, for one, am very at ease. Besides, he's already 16, and he's completed the coming-of-age ceremony. Don't you think we should support him in choosing his own path? My dear younger brother. Eugene saw all of this clearly. In their eyes, Felid was prey. Once the weak were targeted by the strong, surviving became exceedingly difficult. Even if the weak held their breath and fled desperately, the hunters would still catch up and clamp down on their throats. But as long as the weak joined a group, the hunters would start weighing the cost. Report, there are no signs of wanderers nearby. It seems no monsters have escaped from the dungeon cave. Then begin the dungeon operation. Soon, with everyone working together, the dungeon gate was pushed open. From this moment on, your lives are in your own hands. Everyone, stay sharp, move out. We'll see each other in 4 days, Mr. Eugene. You must be careful. Let's go, little brother Felid. The Bodhisattva will bless them. Immediately after that, the gate slowly closed. The group advanced slowly through the dim cave. Before long, they ran into a pack of the lowest-tier monsters, goblins, and everyone instantly entered combat mode. Screams and wails mixed together. Save me. Just then, Galfred split the goblin in front of him in two with a single slash. Only then did the soldier suddenly let out a breath of relief. Saved. You idiots, hold formation. Everyone back to your positions. Archers, to the middle, watch the ceiling. Don't let them break the formation. With the orders given, the mercenaries and soldiers who had just scattered barely managed to steady their footing. But goblins were known for their frenzy. They kept charging, trampling over their own kind's corpses. One cowardly mercenary's legs went weak. He even leaked a couple of drops of urine. If this keeps up, I'm definitely going to die. I have to leave right now. Thinking that, he sprinted madly toward the entrance. But the entrance was already packed tight with goblins. Just then, someone sharply ordered him to get down. In the next second, a sharp blade whistled through the air and pinned straight through a goblin's forehead. You idiot. You think going back the way you came is safe? Only if everyone sticks together will you be safest. Pull yourself together. Now raise your sword and get the hell back to your position. At this moment, Galfred's face was full of anxiety. Although the situation was temporarily held down, this team had been thrown together at the last minute, and too many people wanted to run. At this rate, trying to fight through the dungeon with these people was nothing but a dream. Just then a soldier came to report, more enemies had appeared ahead. Immediately after, someone else reported, more enemies were also pressing in from the rear. Galfred's expression changed. Form a two-sided formation. I'll hold the rear. But just then, Eugene charged straight toward the rear. Galfred was startled and was about to shout at him not to act alone. But in the blink of an eye, Eugene disappeared from view. In the next moment, everyone jolted. They saw that from the direction Eugene had rushed into, something pitch black was suddenly thrown out. What else could it be but Eugene's mask? Something happened to Eugene. Galfred's heart sank. He hurriedly gathered a few people and rushed into the cave, praying only that Eugene could hold on a little longer. But the moment he entered, Galfred froze. Eugene was standing there completely unscathed, still pinching a strange flower in his hand. I cleared out the enemies at the crossroads. Then I found this in the corner. Do you know what it is? Only after confirming Eugene was fine did Galfred finally relax. But Pack was even more puzzled. As a knight, he didn't even recognize Glowgrass? Yet he was outrageously strong. He cleared out so many goblins in such a short time. Was this guy a goblin specialist or something? Just then Eugene frowned and sighed. Why is this flower withered? Soon, everyone finished clearing this area and prepared to rest briefly on the spot. Mr. Eugene, we've collected the rest of the mana crystals. After killing so many monsters, yet only getting a few of these, Eugene felt a bit helpless. And they were blue, completely different from the one he had gotten earlier from that wanderer. At this moment Miriam also popped out, her tone matter of fact. It was normal to be disappointed. Compared with high-quality crystals, these were too small. The quality of mana crystals was proportional to a monster's size and strength. Eugene wondered, did that mean wanderers in the wild usually had bigger crystals? Miriam explained, when monsters leave the dungeon and enter the wilderness, they become wanderers. But that didn't mean the crystal would definitely be bigger. That crocodile you absorbed was big and strong, right? That kind of wanderer was very rare, almost impossible to run into. More importantly, it was strong enough to encroach on my territory. Eugene understood. Back then, being able to obtain that red crystal really had been insanely lucky. Then Miriam added, if there were no advanced monsters here, you would gain almost nothing on this run. But before she could finish, a violent tremor came from the ground. Everyone's faces changed. I thought we could finally rest for a bit. Breaks over. Everyone back into formation. Sir Eugene and I will hold the very front. Follow up. Anyone who dares run will be punished severely after we get out. Eugene sneered inwardly. This guy really does think of himself as the commander. Just then Galfred turned to Eugene and said in a low voice, in the next battle, these mercenaries would basically be useless. Because the monster we were about to face was on a completely different level. In the dungeon, monsters that possessed military-grade power treated low-tier trash like goblins as gatekeepers. In other words, up next we would at least encounter intermediate monsters. If the intermediate monsters were cleared out, there might even be advanced monsters standing behind them. Hearing advanced monsters, Eugene's eyes instantly lit up. After absorbing that red crystal from the swamp overlord, the ability he gained was extremely crucial. If I absorb another crystal of the same tier, will I gain a second ability? Thinking of this, Eugene could barely hold back his curiosity. Just then, dense, rapid footsteps came from within the cave. Did you hear it? Eugene said coldly, at least 50 sets of footsteps, about 100 meters away. Behind them were 3 heavier sets of footsteps. Your hearing's that sharp? Then try this. In the next moment, Eugene took the spear. He hurled it with all his strength, sending it straight into the depths of the darkness. The spear instantly pierced through an intermediate monster. Galfred immediately roared at the group, charge. In the next second, mercenaries and soldiers alike rushed at the monster pack inside the cave. And Eugene was already right up in front of an intermediate monster. Lord Eugene, we're here. Before he could finish, the mercenary froze on the spot. He saw Eugene spring upward, leaping straight into the monster's face. In the next moment, a sword came down, instantly blinding the monster in both eyes. The monster let out a shrill, miserable screech. Immediately after, its fingers were severed by Eugene's blade. Then Eugene pressed his sword tip to the monster's forehead, and drove the blade in with a vicious thrust, ending its life on the spot. Blood sprayed, splashing all over Eugene. At this moment, he looked like a living god of slaughter. All the soldiers stared, stunned. No one could forget this scene. But Eugene didn't stop. He turned and pounced on an advanced monster. A black giant claw plunged violently into the monster's skull. In the next moment, the 5 fingers closed, crushing its head to pulp. Seeing this, everyone's hearts were filled with shock. The person before them no longer looked like a knight at all. He looked like a god of slaughter crawling back from hell. This was the complete opposite of the knight image they had been taught since childhood. This style of fighting even exceeded the standards they had always worshipped. It was a kind of blood-soaked style. A battle that should have been difficult ended in dramatic fashion after Eugene cut down 3 intermediate monsters in a row. Galfred swept his gaze around, and his heart sank again. This battle had almost no casualties. But the soldiers were all trembling. They weren't hurt. Their minds had been crushed by what they had just seen. A scene like that would make even his spine go cold. It was normal that these soldiers couldn't take it. It seemed they couldn't keep pushing forward. "Sir Eugene, we've reached the predetermined objective. How about we retreat here?" Eugene was startled. "I fought this far just to go hunt advanced monsters, and now you're saying retreat?" He immediately suppressed his emotions and said he wasn't tired. No one knew when the next expedition would come, so turning back now was a waste. "If you want to go back, you can leave first. Are you looking down on us?" Galfred's gaze sank. "Since you want to continue, we'll continue forward with you." But Eugene shook his head. "I want you to take them out of the dungeon and withdraw. From here on, only I and my mercenaries will continue forward." After saying that, Eugene took 2 people with him, turned around, and walked into the deeper darkness. The soldiers nearby almost cried after hearing it. "That scared me to death. I thought we were really going to die in here. Did he realize we couldn't take it, so he told us to withdraw? Who would have thought that beneath that sharp exterior, he actually had a heart that looked after the weak? I actually thought he was scary just now. I'm not even human." "Yen Eugene, you've made me rethink what it really means to be a knight." Meanwhile on Eugene's side, the 3 of them were advancing toward the area where the advanced monsters were. The farther Laban walked, the more sullen he became. "This place is way too scary. Why do I have to come along? I want to go back too." "No, compared to Big Brother Eugene, this is nothing. If something really happens, Big Brother will definitely be able to handle it." Thinking this, Laban finally steadied himself and kept moving forward. In the next moment, he stepped on something. Laban looked down and froze. A spider? How could a spider fall from the ceiling? He jerked his head up, and his scalp instantly went numb. The rock walls were crawling with countless cave giant spiders. These spiders lived in colonies. They could spit highly corrosive acidic venom, melting their prey before swallowing it. In the next second, swarms of spiders surged toward them. All 3 immediately took up fighting stances. But there were too many spiders, and Pack suggested retreating first. Hearing retreat, Eugene smiled instead. "Just make sure you protect yourselves." In the next moment, he charged into the spider swarm. With a flash of sword light, a large swath fell instantly. "Just this many? Not even enough for me to chop." Laban mentally collapsed on the spot. "Can we even compare with you?" In the next moment, he was surrounded by the spider swarm. "Help, big bro. I haven't been your little brother for long enough. I don't want to die." Before the words even finished, Eugene had already looped around to the back of the swarm. In an instant, the giant spiders in front of Laban were chopped into pieces. "Big bro, I'll be your little brother for my whole life." Just as Laban let out a sigh of relief, Eugene's gaze fell on the longsword on the ground, as if he had made some decision. But when he lifted his eyes, the last spider was also casually slain by him. "Big bro, you're as strong as ever, but we've already done enough. How about we retreat now? What do you think, Captain Pack?" "You think so too, right?" But Pack didn't answer. Yet his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. Only fear remained on his face. In the dungeon, even the same kind of monster had differences in rank, but you almost never ran into higher-tier individuals, so when forming a party no one specifically guarded against that scenario. But this absurd size in front of them, with just 1 claw, it was thicker and longer than a human. This thing was definitely a high-tier variant of the giant spider, the king-level variant giant spider. "Mr. Eugene, we must retreat. Against a spider king like this, we can't help. We'll only hold you back." Before he could finish, Eugene cut him off. "You two withdraw. From now on, it's my prey." With that, he stopped suppressing his aura and released it outright. Pack stiffened instantly. The pressure was too heavy. Just standing nearby felt like his body no longer obeyed him. Gritting his teeth, he yanked Laban around and sprinted madly away. It seems that in the face of the gap in strength between you two, those little guys have already bowed to instinct. "I don't care about that. I only want to know, is it a wanderer on the same level as the Lord of the Swamp?" Miriam shook her head. "No, it's stronger than the Lord of the Swamp you killed before." Then its mana crystal should be bigger. With that, Eugene raised his longsword. Struggle. The harder a treasure chest is to open, the more I look forward to what's inside. Right after that, with a single sword strike, Eugene killed the Spider Lord. In the blink of an eye, he appeared at the banquet held for him, and the reason he could show himself under sunlight was because he had absorbed the Spider Lord's mana crystal and obtained a second ability, Disguise. First, he used the first ability to harden his skin, resisting the sun's burning. Then he used the Disguise ability to simulate human skin. From then on, the problem of having to avoid the sun was greatly alleviated. Just then, a woman beside him asked curiously, "Could Eugene now walk around everywhere without wearing a mask? Why have you been wearing a mask all this time? Just to cover up such a pretty face?" Another woman chimed in, "Hiding such a beautiful face, you're far too cruel. Can you tell us what happened when the dungeon opened? We heard you defeated a cave giant spider all by yourself." At this moment Miriam also popped out with a mischievous grin. "You're about to be sucked dry here, Mr. Knight. Tell everyone your heroic deeds." "Mr. Knight, you're so beautiful. Could it be your family has elven blood?" Eugene was startled. Why is this turning into elves? Taking off the mask is even more troublesome. Just then Galfred also walked over, speaking with certainty. "That must be it. Having elven blood would explain it. No wonder in the pitch-black dungeon your gaze was still so sharp, and your ears as keen as a hunting dog's. And your agility. And that exaggerated strength when you threw the spear. I should have realized earlier. You couldn't possibly be an ordinary human. I didn't expect there really is elven blood flowing in your veins. But with your looks, it's hard not to draw attention in this region. How have you kept yourself hidden all this time?" Eugene's heart sank. This guy's powers of observation really are terrifying. How am I supposed to explain my way out of this? In the next moment, a flash of inspiration passed through Eugene's mind. "I've never deliberately hidden myself." Galfred froze on the spot. Who would have thought you could say something like that with a straight face? Eugene quietly let out a sigh of relief. That hurdle was cleared. If he was suspected again in the future, he'd use elven blood as a fig leaf. But this time, absorbing a mana crystal gave Eugene more than just one ability. At the moment the marks on his body vanished, a segment of memory he had never seen stabbed violently into his mind. He saw himself lying in an unfamiliar place, and a soft hand, gripping his hand tightly. In that unfamiliar space, bells were echoing, and many people were watching him. But no matter what, he couldn't remember who the women in that memory were. Thinking of that, Eugene even began to doubt. Was that really my memory? He had no past he could trace. The only thing he remembered was. Just then, a burst of noise interrupted Eugene's thoughts. "Mr. Eugene, save me. You hopeless brat, I heard it all. You acted on your own, and in the end you became Mr. Eugene's burden, didn't you?" Laban hurried to argue. That was because Mr. Eugene wasn't human at all. If it were a normal person, they would have run long ago. "So what you mean is, Mr. Eugene is a monster? Is that it?" Looking at the two noisy people in front of him, Eugene felt nothing but helplessness. "The only thing I remember is the name Eugene, but after today, I have a premonition in my heart. If I can remove these marks like this, one by one, I'll be able to get closer and closer to the real me step by step. Not a knight, and not a temporary fake identity like elven blood, but my true identity." Soon, they arrived in front of Tilwyn. "Congratulations, you have successfully completed the dungeon suppression mission. It's an honor to meet you, Lord Tilwyn. I am Krima, Galfred's third son." Eugene was startled. "So his name isn't Galfred?" Eugene immediately followed Krima's movements and saluted as well, introducing himself as Yen of the Eugene family. "You must have gone through many hardships suppressing the dungeon." After Tilwyn spoke, he motioned for a guard at the side to take out something and hand it to Eugene. "I heard you need a certificate that can prove your identity. This document should be enough to prove who you are." "I'm very sure it can prove my identity. Thank you very much, Lord Tilwyn." But just then, Tilwyn suddenly began coughing violently. "Cora, your younger brother's ambition makes me deeply uneasy. I can't even sleep soundly. Please don't worry about me, Father. I will reliably hold this territory that you built over a lifetime. My beloved child, a territory is nothing but dust and mud. Remember that. A lord must care for the people, not the land, and lead them." Yet before he could finish, Tilwyn closed his eyes. His withered palm slid from Cora's hand. An emotion called sorrow swept the entire room in an instant. No matter what kind of person Lord Tilwyn was in life, there would be people who grieved his passing. But even in the face of death, there are always those who do not feel the same. Time quickly came to dusk. "I'm very sorry, but I have to leave in the middle of the funeral." Cora shook his head to show understanding. "It's fine, you have your own arrangements." "Mr. Eugene, are you really going to stay here?" Eugene nodded. "I'm going into the dungeon one more time. We went to great lengths to open it. Leaving now would be too wasteful." "That's a pity. If Count Evergrow heard about you, he would definitely admire you." As he spoke, Krima extended his hand to Eugene. "It's my honor to cross blades with a powerful knight like you. I hope that next time we meet, we won't be standing on opposing sides. Eugene smiled faintly. In the next moment, the two clasped hands firmly. Be sure to take good care of yourself, Sir Galfred. We should set off too, Pack. Felid looked completely confused. Didn't we say we were staying here? Pack explained. Sir Galfred had already ridden off on horseback. Generally speaking, knights all have horses. So we're going to the trade city. First, to buy a horse for Mr. Eugene. Second, to sell the dungeon spoils. Understood. Then as Mr. Eugene's squire, I will also do my utmost to assist him. But just then Eugene walked over and said directly, I don't need your help. Felid was startled. Did I hear wrong? What do you mean by that? In the next moment, Felid appeared by the docks, with the foreman's shout in his ears. Are you even working? Hurry and carry that over there. A huge question mark popped up over Felid's head. Bringing me to Marin, the largest commercial city in the kingdom of Kaler, was just to move miscellaneous goods? Are these all dungeon byproducts brought back by a knight? That's right, these byproducts were all brought back by Sir Yen Eugene. The people nearby exploded as soon as they heard. Isn't Yen Eugene the knight from the legends who tore off a troll's head while it was still alive? Yeah, that's my big bro. Back when I first met my big bro. But unlike those chatting, Felid was still bitterly hauling cargo. After finishing, he lifted his head and looked at the building next to him. You said you'd come down after saying a few words. Those few words are taking way too long. Don't worry, Sir Eugene. I'm Bill Moore of the parent trading company. As Marin's pride, I will personally be responsible for handling your byproducts. Our company is a big one, and based on and Eugene being able to show up here after coming out of the deep mountains was all thanks to Pack having wide connections. Please trust our professionalism. We will purchase your byproducts at the most favorable price. If you're willing to sign an exclusive contract, I personally guarantee. But before Billmore could finish, the door was pushed open. May I ask who is Sir Eugene? When Pack saw the newcomer, his expression changed. Sir Eugene, this may be a bit awkward. That man is the direct secretary to the deputy manager of the parent trading company. His influence is far greater than Billmore's. He's very likely here to force down the price and snatch the goods. If you want a stable trade partner, you'd better be cautious. Mr. Greyer, I'm discussing an exclusive contract with Sir Eugene. Shut up. I don't see any signed contract documents. Sir Eugene, the whole port is talking about you. They say the knight who tore off a troll's head with his bare hands in Tilwyn's territory brought back a mountain of dungeon byproducts. But Greyer sneered inwardly. It's probably a rumor meant to jack up the price. This little trick is obvious at a glance. The deputy manager wants to sign the contract with you in person. Don't waste time in a dump like this. Come with me. He calculated to himself. A poor knight who only knows brute force like this. I'm going to squeeze him until there isn't a drop left. But as soon as the thought settled, Greyer jolted in alarm. That look, how could it be this terrifying? Cold sweat instantly broke out on Greyer. I apologize for my rudeness just now. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Greyer, secretary to the deputy manager of the parent trading company. This will be a good opportunity for you. The opportunity you're talking about, what opportunity is that? Of course, an opportunity to sell your byproducts on better terms. Our deputy manager will personally. The deputy manager will personally appear? Eugene's gaze turned even colder, and Greyer panicked on the spot. If I offended you, I sincerely apologize. I truly didn't mean it. I'm very sorry. I'll come pay you a visit another day. Billmore was so moved he was about to cry. I didn't expect you to refuse the deputy manager's contract for my sake. I, Billmore, from this moment on will firmly stand on your side. Whatever you need, just say the word. So when do we start? Now. Get out. Elsewhere, you're saying your offer was rejected? I have nothing to say, deputy manager. The rumor is true. He's not ordinary. It's fine. Lift your head, Greyer. Knights always use honor and pride to make things difficult for merchants. In that case, we'll use a merchant's way to make them suffer a bit. For people like us, whose power comes from money and goods, that isn't hard. Especially when the opponent is a poor knight. He doesn't even have a decent horse. Go on, send Mr. Eugene a gift. A lavish gift that a poor knight will find hard to refuse. You want me to stay here and keep selling these byproducts? You heard me clearly. Sell all the monster byproducts I brought back to this man. But why do I still have to stay this time? Is it because I'm not capable, so I can't go with you? If that's the case, then I'll start practicing the sword right now. Felid, what is a squire's duty? Felib's heart jolted. Answer, a squire's duty is to support the knight he serves, in battle and in daily life. Seems you remember. As my squire, what you need to do is manage my daily affairs. I need you to sell the byproducts I brought back from battle. We need to save money. This is the task I'm giving you. And it's also the task you must complete as a squire. You can live and work with Billmore, and think through the details. He'll teach you a lot of business knowledge. When we've saved enough money, I'll consider teaching you swordsmanship. After all, as a squire, you also must support me in battle. I, Felid, will obey your orders. Soon, Eugene arrived at the marketplace. Money really doesn't last. We only bought the most basic daily necessities, and we were already at the bottom. The purse was so empty it was practically translucent, but I believe we'll fill it back up soon, right? Just then, something at the side caught Eugene's eye. A set of bright silver armor was displayed on a stall. Pak said it was plate armor, something every knight dreamed of. Then it must be very expensive, right? Pak explained, it wasn't just expensive. Even very wealthy knights would pass this kind of armor down from generation to generation, which showed how precious it was. Just then, Laban rushed over from the side and anxiously stopped the two of them. Bad news, Sir Eugene. A huge group of wanderers has appeared outside Marin. Those wanderers came from the forest to the east of Marin. They're trying to rush into the city, and Marin's guild can barely hold them off. Pak said we should join this expedition. Eugene looked at him in confusion. Why should we join? At this moment Laban jumped in. I know. In a place like a dungeon with an owner, there's no bounty for hunting wanderers. But this is Marin, a merchant city, the best place to sell monster byproducts and loot at high prices. Most importantly, we have almost no transport costs, basically saving a huge sum of money outright. Then let's go wipe them all out. But just then, someone called out to Eugene. It was Greer, leading a horse, walking up to them. The deputy manager is giving you a warhorse as a gift. I'm here to deliver it. Take a look. Its jet black mane was smooth as silk, its muscles tight, as if carved by a god's own hand. This was a top-tier purebred, chosen especially for you. The deputy manager wants to give me this? But the way you're talking sounds a bit off. Eugene's gaze made Greer's heart jump, and he quickly explained, there's no other meaning. I'm just here to deliver the horse. In the next moment, Eugene was already in front of Greer. Greer was shocked. It's really just a small token of thanks. I'm just here to deliver the horse. In the next moment, Eugene swung up onto the horse. Shut up. I'll take the gift. Tell him, I'm very grateful. With that, he spurred the horse and left. Sir Eugene already left ahead of us. What do we do? Captain, that horse is way too fast. You're still asking what to do? Of course we run after him, you idiot. Greer watched as they disappeared into the distance. Now I can finally talk, right? The scene shifted to the forest on Marin's eastern outskirts. A fight had just ended here, and two goblins were excitedly enjoying the spoils of victory. But in the next second, they jolted in alarm. A jet-black steed stepped into the woods. In the next moment, the poor goblins were beheaded on the spot. Looks like the scale really is big. No sooner had we left the city than we ran into this many wanderers. That's truly good news. Looks like our justified purse is about to swell again. Soon they arrived at the battlefield outside the city. The situation was far from optimistic. A blonde-haired knight was being surrounded to death by several intermediate monsters. You bastards! If you want to enter the city, step over my corpse first. No sooner had he finished speaking than the monsters pounced. The blonde and his horse were startled at the same time. The warhorse threw the blonde rider off and fled into the distance by itself. You damned stinking horse. I, Madrika the Righteous Knight, swear in Marin's name, I will never. But before he could finish, he froze. Several intermediate monsters had already charged right up to him. The blonde rider panicked instantly. But in the next second, one intermediate monster had already fallen to the ground. The blonde rider lifted his head in confusion. The newcomer's expression was cold and hard. He rode a jet-black, gleaming steed. Eugene reached the monsters in almost a single breath and cleanly cut down the remaining 3 intermediate monsters. A chill ran through the blonde rider. This guy is too strong. Even the war god of legend wouldn't be more than this. I owe you my life. May I ask your name? Eugene didn't answer. Instead, he raised his sword and shot it straight past the blonde rider's back. A flash of sword light, and another monster fell. Does a name matter? If you die here, nothing means anything. The blonde rider gave an awkward chuckle. You're right. When we make it back alive from this earthly hell, I'll ask your name again. Without exaggeration, hundreds of goblins surged toward Marin, this great commercial city, like an ant swarm. But we fought to the very last moment. At the most critical instant, that knight descended from the heavens and mercilessly cut down the goblin horde. Of course, me too. In the end, with my perfect coordination with him, we won. Marin held. You've already told that story 100 times. But who exactly was that knight? Looks like you're all very curious. His name is Yen Eugene. At the word Eugene, the audience erupted. Isn't that the knight who conquered the dungeon in Tilwyn's territory? They say he can twist off a troll's head with his bare hands. Who would have thought the one who held Marin would also be this admirable knight? Lord Yen Eugene is our hero. And all of this was seen by Marin's current mayor, the former representative of the Perrin Trading Company, Louis Perrin. Now the entire city is shouting that knight's name. The greater his fame, the harder it will be for us to control him. Are you sure we should just leave it alone, my beautiful granddaughter Plutra? Plutra replied blandly, everything is under control. The higher his prestige, the more it benefits us instead. The higher you climb, the more fear you feel when you fall. By the way, grandfather, do you know the squire by Mr. Eugene's side? You mean that kid who delivered the byproducts to the trading company? From what I've investigated, he's a bastard the Tilwyn family has been hiding. I don't know what Mr. Eugene is thinking, but he clearly wants to obtain a large sum of money through commercial dealings and sponsor that bastard. If we can control Eugene, maybe we can establish contact in advance with the future head of the Tilwyn family. As expected of my granddaughter, I understand your plan. You want to buy off that knight who's sponsoring a bastard. Then I should also send Mr. Eugene a gift. As the mayor of Marin, giving a gift to the hero who solved our problem is what I ought to do. I'll put you down as the recommender and make good use of this opportunity. Thank you, grandfather. After that, the two of them discussed the details more and more deeply, line by line. Without realizing it, by the time Pletra returned to the mansion, it was already night. A thirsty person will walk toward the water's edge. And as a merchant, I only need to do one thing. Before the right person becomes thirsty, dig a well for him first. I'll wait for you. Wait until you can't help but drink this well water, with no resistance and no suspicion. And at this moment, Eugene also arrived here. Welcome, Marin's hero, Knight Yen Eugene. I'm here to express my thanks. You're the person in charge of parent trading company's Marin branch, Pletra? Pletra nodded. That's me. Please, have a seat. After Eugene sat down, Fletcher used the motion of serving tea to study the man in front of her. Handsome on the outside, yet able to tear open a troll's skull with his bare hands. This knight was far too dangerous, unlike anyone she had ever met. She had to be more cautious. Pletchera tucked away her emotions and smiled. The suit of armor the mayor sent you suits you very well. It comes from Marin's best workshop. It's a customized high-end piece, and it's been mixed with Elsic iron forged from ogre bones to refine a special steel. Its hardness is extremely high, so high that even dragon fangs would have trouble piercing it. What do you think? Eugene gave a faint smile. Not bad. I hope it's truly reliable the next time we raid a dungeon. Also, thank you for providing room and board. My two mercenaries are in great shape because of it. Even though I don't expect rewards when I do things, I still appreciate your kindness. In that case, would you be willing to hear my proposal? Before Pletchera could finish, Eugene stood up and cut her off. Since everyone's busy, I'll take my leave first. Pletchera was startled. Leaving so soon? Eugene said. After Tilwyn's dungeon is conquered, I'll come pay another visit. But my contract only covers the byproducts from this dungeon run, so this may be farewell forever. And this time, I'll focus on collecting mana crystals. Pletchera's expression twisted instantly. So was I giving this away for nothing? Goodbye, ma'am. Eugene had only taken 2 steps when Pletchera called out to stop him. Eugene didn't understand. What was wrong with her? Was she going to give him something else? There should still be many things for us to talk about. What do you mean by that? Mr. Eugene, there ought to be a limit to playing dumb. We gave you Marin's most expensive full-plate armor, and a noble-blooded warhorse. Not to mention, we arranged the highest-grade hotel and cuisine for you. The byproducts you sold to the company aren't even enough to cover half of what we spent. Are you going to keep pretending you don't know anything? Don't tell me you've served as an attendant and still don't understand. Everything in this world has a price. If those Marin people praising you knew you were actually a shameless, dishonorable scum of a knight, would you not care at all? Marin's beloved hero, Knight Yen Eugene. Do you really plan to take everything and then just turn around and leave? Don't you want to explain yourself? Eugene, however, smiled. Absurd. The first time we met, you wanted to order me around. Then you forced gifts on me that I didn't want. And now you want me to pay for these gifts? In the end, you're just a merchant, trying to use threats to make me bow my head. Who gave you the nerve? You've misunderstood, so I'll make it clear. I already signed a contract with Parent Trading Company through Billmore. As long as you keep taking my goods honestly, I don't care at all how the people of Marin judge me. But you're right, everything has a price, so say whatever you want to say. Then you'll understand what price really means. Parent Trading Company's deputy manager. In my view, this is nothing but Perrin's tactic. This is Perrin and Marin colluding to persecute the knight who saved Marin. If things keep developing like this, when the next crisis comes, no knight will be willing to stand up for Marin again. I'm done. I should go. Just then, Pack also stepped forward. Please forgive my bluntness, deputy manager, but isn't this a shame? If you chose the right approach, we could have been very good partners. Fletcher's expression sank completely. Her gaze locked tightly onto Eugene, who was about to leave. Please wait a moment, Mr. Yen Eugene. I offer a solemn apology for my rudeness just now. I, Pletchera, the deputy manager of Parent Trading Company's Marin branch, extend to you my deepest apologies. My desire to gain the upper hand in this relationship blinded my judgment. To make up for my discourtesy, I hope we can start over. Your contract with Billmore will be kept, but I want to add a few clauses to the agreement. I assure you, you have no need to worry. Pletchera had seen far too many knights. Once smashed with expensive patronage, they immediately bowed and fawned. So most knights were nothing but idiots chasing fame and profit. But the knight in front of her was different. There was a dangerous pressure about him. Her merchant's instincts were screaming. If I let him walk away like this, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Just as Plutra was feeling uneasy inside, Eugene sat back down in the chair. I'll listen to you to the end. But you'd better come up with a condition tempting enough. At last Plutra let out a sigh of relief. Thank you very much for your magnanimity. Look who this is. Why, isn't this our knight Yen Eugene? With armor and a horse, you finally look like a real knight. Eugene could only feel helpless toward the chatty Marian. The world should watch out. Eugene is now the coolest person in the whole world. Pak studied the contract all the way and finally reached a conclusion. It was a very favorable contract. Eugene was speechless. You've studied it for ages and that's all you've got? Can't you say something practical? Pak explained. Parent trade has hundreds of branches across the Roman Empire, and mainly does business with noble families that possess magical territories, such as the Tilwyn family. For a company of that scale, being willing to offer unlimited mediation services for dungeons or labyrinths connected to all branches was an extremely generous proposal, far better than accepting a noble appointment. Mr. Eugene, this move of yours was spot on. Are you a genius? Just then, someone blocked Eugene's group. Does putting on a suit of shiny armor automatically make you a knight? With a face as pretty as yours, can you really hold a sword steady? What is this potato-faced guy babbling about? At this moment Cora walked up to them. Mr. Eugene, you came at just the right time. Mr. Cora, should we call you Lord Tilwyn now? Call me whatever you want, but you've changed a lot. Eugene said it was all given to him by others, then asked Cora how things were going now. Cora said, Visser hired new mercenaries again, and it feels very off. Do you remember that mercenary team from last time that brought Fielet here, the ones wiped out by the Black Wolves? I remember they were very hard to deal with. The mercenaries he brought this time give me the same feeling. So I hope Mr. Eugene can serve as the commander for this dungeon assault. At this moment the potato face jumped out again. If he dies in the dungeon, can I be the new commander? Cora flew into a rage. What did you just say? The potato face waved his hand indifferently. Don't be angry, Lord Tilwyn. I'm not cursing him, but we're not here for a picnic. In a dungeon, human life is cheap. We have to plan for the worst, don't we? Next, we'll be counting on you, Commander. Eugene nodded. That's indeed a good idea. If I die, let this potato face take over as your commander. Mirian also hopped out at this time. This potato face is climbing all over you. Aren't you mad? Eugene shook his head, signaling it to be quiet. My guess is this is just one of Visser's methods. He wants to use the mercenaries to get rid of me in the dungeon. But if things don't go the way he wants, then it'll get very interesting. Mirian immediately put on a sly grin, as expected of Lord Eugene. Soon, everyone arrived in the area where low-tier monsters were found. Along the way, Eugene kept walking alone at the very front, killing anyone who blocked him, human or monster, it made no difference. By himself, he cleared out all the low-tier monsters in this area. Potato Face hard jolted, so his reputation wasn't just hot air. He stood alone on the very front line, shouldering the workload of 100 men. Meanwhile, the mercenaries he brought just stood by and watched. There's an overwhelming aura about him, like he's raising an enormous shield in front of everyone. But I can't give up. I have to watch for his openings. Just one chance. Just let this poison-coated sword cut that face that pisses me off. Just then, Eugene warned, up ahead is an area where only intermediate monsters appear. From here on, I can no longer guarantee your lives. Whoever wants to continue, follow. In case you didn't hear me, I'll say it again. Only those confident they can keep up are qualified to follow. If the commander is going, how can we not go? Potato Face bared his teeth in a grin. The opportunity had finally come. At this time, Laban also stepped forward and said he wanted to go too, but Pak stopped him. Laban looked confused. If we don't go, is it really okay? Pak said in a low voice, Mr. Eugene has his own plan. At the same time, a thought flickered through Eugene's mind. The last time I came here, it was with Mr. Galfred. Without him, it really is dull. Although I only observed him briefly, he truly was an outstanding leader. He always steadied people's hearts when morale was at its lowest, and he would personally hold the most dangerous vanguard position. With him around, even if you brought a bunch of rabble, you could clear the dungeon safely. So I'm curious, if Galfred were here, how would he handle a situation like this? So you're finally done pretending? Looks like you really do want to die. Then I'll grant your wish. As the words fell, Mirian sprang out, water element magic rapidly gathering in its palm. The mercenaries were shocked on the spot. This bastard can actually use magic? Why didn't anyone say so? In the next moment, a stream of water took shape in Mirian's hands, and then it lunged straight at the torches in the mercenaries' hands. The flames went out, and darkness instantly swallowed everyone. The scene immediately dissolved into chaos. Potato Face was alarmed. We can't see anything ahead. In a panic, he ordered everyone to light the torches again. Just then, in the darkness, a pair of golden eyes lit up. He kept harvesting the mercenaries' lives in the dark. We're under attack. We're being killed. The chaos escalated in an instant. Potato Face went ice cold all over. He grabbed the flintstone and rubbed it like crazy. But in the next second, fear crawled over his chest. Why is it suddenly so quiet? Cold sweat rolled down his rough cheeks. Footsteps suddenly sounded inside the cavern. Then Eugene's voice rang out again. Why do you need fire? If not having fire makes it hard for you to even breathe, then I'll help you. After all, human eyes are far too inconvenient in the dark. Better now? Can you see more clearly? Then tell me, who is the prey, and who is doing the hunting? Soon after, Eugene, part of the dungeon exploration team, returned to Tilwyn Castle. Cora and Visser, having received the news, hurried over. Mr. Eugene, is what the guard said true? The mercenary group really got wiped out completely? Before he could finish, he froze and murmured under his breath, what on earth is going on? There, Potato Face was slumped at Eugene's feet, mercenary Maverick. Visser stared in disbelief. How did he end up like this? Maverick's potato-like face was filled with terror as he said in a trembling voice, I tried to kill Lord Yen Eugene, and it was all on the orders of Visser Tilwyn. Visser instantly flew into a rage. You lunatic, what nonsense are you spouting? Cora roared at Visser to shut up. What exactly are you still trying to do? Calm down, brother. Visser forced himself to stay composed. How can you believe someone who's obviously gone mad? You'd rather believe an outsider than your own younger brother? And you stop talking nonsense too, Maverick. Explain the truth clearly, all right? The truth, what is it? Maverick grew more and more deranged. I remember now, how could I dare harm my master? Trash like me deserves to die. As he shouted, Maverick charged toward the window. In the next moment, he shattered the glass and jumped from the upper floor. Cora rushed to the window, looking down in horror. Maverick's body was impaled on the sword of a knight statue, dead on the spot. Visser, on the contrary, let out a sigh of relief. See, brother? He obviously went mad after watching his companions get torn apart by monsters like paper. You're really going to believe something that ridiculous? I find you even stranger. Visser, when he died, you actually looked relieved. Visser's heart tightened. My brother is as sharp as ever. He immediately turned the spearhead toward Eugene. And you too, Yen Eugene. As a knight, do you have no pride at all? How dare you slander me with such absurd delusions? Visser, swear on your knightly honor. Are you truly innocent? Of course I'm innocent. You're the one slandering me. In the next moment, Eugene drew the sword at his waist. Then there was only one way to settle this. I challenge you to a trial by duel, staking your knightly honor and the truth. Someone come quick. The second young master has issued a trial by duel in the front courtyard. My god, a trial by duel is no small matter. What trouble has the second young master gotten into again? I heard he hired assassins. Hired assassins? Bah, he just loves causing trouble. Then who was his target? Do you know? I heard the target was Mr. Yen Eugene, the knight Lord Tilwyn hired recently. Seeing Visser raise the longsword in his hand resolutely, Cora's expression also darkened. He began the pre-battle oath. Since you each insist on your own story, then we'll use a duel to determine the truth. By the will of justice, the truth shall grant victory to the winner. As Cora finished speaking, Visser charged at Eugene with his sword. In the next moment, the blade struck Eugene's sword. Then Visser leapt high and chopped down at Eugene again. But every one of his attacks was easily blocked by Eugene. Eugene's expression was terrifyingly calm. The guy who chased me for a full half year in my previous life, and this is all he's got? Ugly, too ugly. To think I was chased by an ant like this for half a year. Before he could finish the thought, Eugene's counterattack pressed in. In the next moment, Eugene directly knocked the longsword out of Visser's hand. The longsword stabbed into the ground, humming and vibrating. Go, pick it up. Visser rushed over in a panic and picked up the fallen longsword. The sound of metal clashing rang out again in the courtyard. Cora watched, his chest tightening. Visser's swordsmanship wasn't bad. Otherwise he couldn't have become a famous knight. But this time was different. Even someone who knew nothing about swords could tell. Yen Eugene was far stronger than Visser. Visser's face was already filled with fear of Yen Eugene. That fear stood in stark contrast to Eugene's cold, hard calm. In the next moment, one of Visser's arms was severed by Eugene. Cora rushed forward and urgently called for Eugene to stop. Please step aside, Lord Cora. The duel isn't over yet. Cora shouted in a fluster. I can't just stand by and watch my brother die by your hand. And Visser Tilwyn is no longer capable of fighting and can no longer prove his claim through combat. Therefore, the winner of this duel is Mr. Yen Eugene. But before he could finish, Visser cut him off with a howl. I can still fight. I'll kill this bastard with my own hands. Enough, Visser. Stop. The outcome is already decided. Act like a knight. Admit your crime, then go to prison and reflect. Shut up. I didn't do anything wrong. With that, Visser raised the longsword that had fallen to the ground yet again. Yen Eugene, I can forgive anyone but you. If you weren't here, if you'd never appeared in my life, I wouldn't have suffered this humiliation. Howling, Visser charged at Eugene. But in the next moment, he suddenly found his body wouldn't obey him, and he toppled straight to the ground. His mind went blank. What's wrong with me? Isn't that my armor? What's happening to me? And them, why are they looking at me like that? Why didn't you seize the last chance your younger brother gave you? Visser till win. After saying that, Eugene turned and left with Laban and Pack. Only Cora remained standing there, his expression dark. My foolish younger brother. Don't you think this is a waste? That was clearly your first fledgling, yet you only used him to draw out the duel, and then you abandoned him without hesitation. Eugene explained, his will was too weak. He couldn't even endure the process of becoming a fledgling. If I kept him, the fact that he'd become a vampire would be exposed very soon. He was just a disposable tool, only fit to be used to draw out this duel. Most importantly, he once bared his fangs at me. Lord Eugene really is a ruthless and cold-blooded vampire. But shouldn't vampires have countless thralls? Thralls are a symbol of a vampire's power. I don't need those. When will you finally understand? Turning the weak into fledglings only brings trouble, only wastes my energy. I'll talk again when I meet someone I truly want. Did something happen to Lord Galfred? Yes, they said a huge commotion broke out over there. Just then, the two who were talking also noticed Eugene walking in. Mr. Eugene is here. I heard the latest dungeon conquest operation was also a success. As Billmore spoke, he ran toward Eugene with enthusiastic warmth. But Eugene shoved him away mercilessly. What did you just say happened to Lord Galfred? I only just heard as well. 2 weeks ago, Lord Galfred took part in a labyrinth conquest operation in the territory of Count Evergrow. They say he disappeared alone inside the labyrinth. They searched the intermediate monster area thoroughly, but they didn't even find a single item of his. So everyone is guessing. He was too eager for quick success, charged into the high-tier monster area, and never came back out. Upon learning that something had happened to Galfred, Eugene immediately rushed to Count Evergrove's territory. Welcome, Mr. Yen Eugene. I've long heard of your great name. You're younger, and more handsome, than the rumors say. It's an honor to meet you, Lord Yevon. Thank you for receiving me, but the situation is urgent. You're right, let's go inside and talk. Very soon, Eugene was led into the reception room. In my view, Mr. Galfred was blinded by ambition. We had originally planned that if this assault succeeded, we would give him a position, but we didn't expect him to charge into the upper-level area on his own. Eugene was full of doubts and probed. Was it really his own unilateral action? Yevon gave an affirmative answer. And the upper-level area he entered is a place our family has been unable to conquer for over 100 years. It's the lair of the Labyrinth Lord. At this moment, the man beside him added, the Labyrinth Lord doesn't merely live there. It is the existence that rules the entire labyrinth. Mr. Galfred was dazzled by the prospect of achievements. His actions were too reckless and caused trouble for many people. Eugene frowned and looked at him. Who is this kid? Just then, Yevon stood up and introduced him. This is Mr. Logatz, our family's territorial knight. He was also one of the leaders who was in charge together with Mr. Galfred at the time. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Eugene. I heard you defeated Mr. Galfred in a duel. In that case, we share an interesting commonality. I'm the champion of the Evergreen Tournament, which is to say, I've beaten Galfred in a tournament. So the thing we have in common is that we've both beaten Mr. Galfred. Isn't that interesting? Eugene felt a chill listening to this and asked bluntly, is this really the time to talk about that? At this moment, Yevon spoke again. In a certain sense, Mr. Galfred is also valuable talent we cannot afford to lose. On behalf of the Evergreen family, I extend to Mr. Eugene my deepest apologies regarding this incident. As I understand it, you and Mr. Galfred are bound by a profound friendship. He often spoke of you, saying you were his only close friend. Therefore, for you, Mr. Eugene, who has come a great distance for a friend, we will give you our full support. But unfortunately, over the past 100 years, our family has repeatedly tried to conquer the upper-level area, and every attempt ended in failure, and each failure ended with the entire team disappearing. Therefore, once someone has been missing for more than a month, we stop searching and formally declare them dead. Mr. Galfred has been missing for 3 weeks, so if we still can't find him in the remaining week, we will stop the search. Eugene's heart sank. He stood up, indicating that he wanted to set off immediately, but Yevon stopped him. A labyrinth is not a marketplace. You can't just barge in a will. Please give us 3 days. Within 3 days, I will reform an assault squad with Mr. Logatz. Before that, please rest first and recover from the fatigue of your journey. Enter the labyrinth in your best condition. Eugene nodded silently. Thank you for your understanding. But there's one more thing. We recently hired a mage, and we will assign her to you as additional support. Miriam was shocked on the spot. Is my rice bowl going to get snatched away? The scene shifts, and Eugene brings Miriam to the marketplace. That spiky-haired bastard just now had such an awful attitude. And that onion head, he doesn't look like much, but you should know how strong he really is, right? Do you actually believe their story? I keep feeling they're talking nonsense. So many things just don't add up. Eugene had already noticed it too. There are far too many things about this that don't feel right. Before we parted, Galfred said, he would make sure the merit from this dungeon assault would be recognized, and that he'd receive an appointment from Count Evergrow. His appointment to the Evergrow territory had long been settled, yet all of a sudden he was shoved into some test. Why did they suddenly change their minds? More importantly, from what I know of him, he isn't someone driven by momentary greed. Even if he really entered the labyrinth, he would put safety first. Just then, Eugene noticed the area around them suddenly growing noisy. At some point, a crowd had already gathered in front of them. The man on the platform was feverish with fanaticism. The Savior shall descend. On the day the red shadow is cast upon the moon, the Savior shall descend. The goddess of victory is already enraged and is destroying this land. The continual earthquakes near the labyrinth have caused large numbers of mountain beasts to die. Not long ago, a highly skilled knight also went missing in the labyrinth. Miriam was startled. Is he talking about that onion head? The man continued shouting. Just sprinkle the blood of a calf in front of the city gates, and then use the remaining meat to hold a sacrificial feast. And the Savior will descend, and save this land soaked in deep crimson blood. Miriam was full of question marks. What on earth is this guy talking about? At this time, a boy walked up to Eugene. God has already become angry. If you join us now, it's still not too late. As he spoke, he stuffed something into Eugene's hand. Of course Eugene didn't believe this nonsense. The beasts dying near the labyrinth because of earthquakes might simply be due to some collapse within the labyrinth. Wanderers were crawling out through the cracks. But why exactly did Galfred? The more Eugene thought, the more uneasy he became. He said to Miriam, set off for the labyrinth right now. Miriam froze, not waiting for them to form an assault team. Eugene was about to explain, but at this moment someone drew close to his side. I really didn't expect to see a vampire here. As far as I know, the vampires on this continent were almost all slaughtered by the Holy Knights. Yet you can still walk around openly like this in broad daylight. Eugene's heart jolted. Someone could actually tell Eugene was a vampire. And it was a woman. In the next instant, Eugene's hand clamped directly around the woman's throat. He dragged her into the alley beside them. Who are you? State your identity. Why do you know I'm a vampire? Answer right now. Otherwise I'll snap your neck. The woman stammered in terror. I'm Bloodshadow. Bloodshadow? This name sounds a bit familiar. I think I've heard washed-up seniors mention it. In the next moment, Miriam suddenly remembered something. Lord Eugene, don't do it. You can't kill her right now. She's a mage, from the Bloodshadow faction. That's a lineage of mages who have served vampires for generations. Their sect trait lets them sense a vampire's presence immediately. Let her go first. But in the next second, the woman fainted on the spot. How can you attack without saying a word? And if you don't loosen your grip on her throat first, how can she answer you? Miriam exploded on the spot. And you're blaming us? Weren't you the one who scared her first with that I'm the bad guy tone? The woman thought about it. That did seem to be the case. She gave an awkward little cough. Please allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Celino Auramari of the Bloodshadow faction. For generations, my family has served as vampires' vassals. Our faction's nature allows us to immediately sense the presence of vampires. It is my honor to see a member of the dark races in person. Young Master Yevon asked me to find you, but I didn't expect Mr. Eugene to be a vampire. I heard you and Mr. Galfred are close friends, is that right? Eugene was left speechless. Why does it suddenly feel so weird when you say that? At this time, the woman added that she had also participated in that assault. Eugene immediately pressed her for the details from back then. The woman said, I needed monster byproducts, so I joined that assault operation too. This labyrinth is famous for its difficulty, but it was discovered 100 years ago. Aside from the upper-level area, the remaining areas have long since been fully explored. So at the start, everyone advanced very easily. But as we continued deeper, suddenly there was a huge boom, and the entire labyrinth began to shake. In the end, the ground beneath my feet collapsed, and I almost fell. But I didn't fall. You know why? It was Mr. Galfred, who was guarding the rear, who saved me. But in my place, he fell into the abyss. And aside from me, everyone believed it was Mr. Galfred opening the door to the upper-level area that triggered that earthquake. But I'm alive because of him, so I have to at least tell you the truth. After all, he often mentioned you, saying you were his closest friend. This is also why I came to find you. Eugene only wanted to find a way to sew Galfred's mouth shut, and Yevon's account clearly didn't match the facts. Was Yevon lying, or did someone twist the truth in the middle? Just then, the woman said she had seen something else as well. I saw a huge eye painted on the ground at the bottom of the abyss. Do you remember those leaflets the fanatics handed out in the square earlier? The pattern on the leaflet was exactly the same as that eye. The scene shifts. A group of fanatics are holding a mysterious ritual here. Only by welcoming him with all our heart, through blood and flesh, will he lead us toward salvation. The day of awakening is coming. Elsewhere, the force assembled by Eugene and Yevon arrived at the labyrinth entrance. Supplies had been completed. All mercenaries and temple knights have assembled. We can depart at any time. Mr. Eugene, what do you think? thinking that you'll be able to see your close friend again. Are you excited? I'm afraid what you'll see will only be a corpse. Hearing this, Eugene's expression instantly turned cold. But you don't need to worry too much. I don't think he'll die that easily. After all, Mr. Galfred is a trustworthy knight. Eugene listened to Lugat's words with icy eyes, although he had long wanted to enter the labyrinth immediately to find him. Now that he knew Galfred's disappearance wasn't an accident, he had to watch these people's every move up close. If Galfred could hold on for 3 weeks, holding on for 3 more days wouldn't cost him his life. Just then, a group of temple knights walked up beside Eugene. We are the temple knights of the monastery under the Evergreen family. It is our honor to fight shoulder to shoulder with a pious knight like you. We are deeply moved that you would risk yourself for a friend. Let us fight side by side in the name of God. Miriam almost laughed out loud, Templar knights saying this to a vampire. At this time Lugat's also walked over. Normally, temple knights only obey God's commands, and in daily life they look like they won't accept anyone. I didn't expect you'd be able to pique their interest. I feel that in the future, Mr. Eugene could change class and become a holy knight. The moment he said this, Eugene, Miriam, and Ramari all fell silent. Do you want to listen to what you're saying, to a vampire? Very soon, everyone opened the dungeon gate, but right at this moment, Eugene called to Pack, let's go in last. Soon, the group reached the second floor hall of the labyrinth, preparing to rest briefly here. The water element energy here is actually this abundant, it's perfect. A labyrinth structure is different from a dungeon's. A labyrinth is a man-made product, yet monsters still live here as well. Looking at the layout around him, Eugene thought, if the worst happens, hiding in a labyrinth like this and surviving long-term might be a way. Just then, Lugat's came to Eugene again. I think this is absolutely the most suitable place for evil things to hide. Your abilities are excellent. Thanks to you along the way, there were no casualties. Since that's the case, how much longer until we reach the place where Mr. Galfred disappeared? Don't be so impatient, we'll be there soon. The person you should trust most right now is me. Didn't I say it? The Evergreen family has already completely mastered the traps in this labyrinth. If you've mastered them, why are there still casualties every time? You can treat them as sacrifices of hope. It will let us survive in this labyrinth. This is a living labyrinth. Before Eugene could figure out what he meant by that, the labyrinth suddenly began to shake violently. Lugat shouted for everyone to prepare. The labyrinth's layout was about to start changing. As soon as his words fell, the labyrinth's wall structures abruptly shifted out of alignment, and countless gears rose from the ground. Lugat then told Eugene there was a shortcut to the upper level. After speaking, he jumped onto a gear, but Eugene frowned. Where exactly is the shortcut you're talking about? Where you're standing right now, is it? A chill instantly crawled up Eugene's spine. In the next moment, the roar of the gears suddenly exploded. Immediately after, the ground began to quake madly. After the shaking stopped, everyone stared at the scene before them, baffled. This place, where exactly are we? Suddenly Ramari stared ahead, and only terror remained on her face. Eugene turned back in confusion. In the next second his pupils constricted sharply. Galfred was bound right there at this very moment. In the next instant, Eugene directly sprang toward Galfred. Feeling the pulse that was still beating, Eugene finally let out a breath. Miriam also rushed over and said in a low voice that something was wrong here. There's something deeper in. Something's very wrong. As soon as the words fell, a gust of wind suddenly swept past. Everyone froze. This was clearly a sealed space. Where could the wind have come from? Just then, a rock wall to the side was smashed open by brute force. Right after that, a pair of golden glowing eyes slowly appeared from the opening. It opened its mouth and spewed hellish flames. Almost in an instant, it completely blasted the wall in front of it apart and burst into everyone's view. Romari's face changed on the spot. Isn't this a minotaur that only appears in legends? Why is it here? Mr. Eugene, what do we do? Eugene motioned for her to protect Galfred. After saying that, he charged straight at the minotaur. Eugene bounded a few times and instantly closed to right in front of the minotaur. He raised his hand, about to slash at its head. But in the next moment, a dazzling golden light abruptly lit up inside the minotaur's mouth. A scorching, powerful gale erupted from its mouth. In an instant, it blasted both Eugene and Ramari away together. Then it drew a scythe from who knows where. Holding it in its hand, it began to chant an unknown spell in a low voice. Eugene's pupils shrank. What is this thing doing? In the next moment, the minotaur completed the magic. It viciously stabbed the scythe into the ground, and cracks instantly crawled across the floor. Galfred, unable to evade, fell straight down, man and rope together. Eugene's mind exploded. He lunged toward Galfred, but he was forcibly blocked by a magic circle. Anger instantly climbed onto Eugene's face. Ramari, what exactly are you doing? Mr. Eugene, that's a minotaur. Even among high-tier monsters, it's the strongest kind. Even if you're a vampire, you might die by its hand. The rage in Eugene's chest was almost overflowing. In the next moment, he raised his sword and pointed it at Ramari. Do you realize you've crossed the line, Ramari? I'm very sorry, Mr. Eugene, but I can't watch you charge straight into death. If you rush in so recklessly, your odds of winning are very low. I know you want to save Mr. Galfred, but you must calm down and assess the situation first. And it's very strange, given the scale of this labyrinth, it shouldn't be possible to encounter a minotaur. Just then, the stone wall behind Eugene suddenly opened, and Lugat's voice came from inside. Looks like I still underestimated you, mage. I didn't expect you also knew earth element magic. If it hadn't been for Galfred back then, you wouldn't have survived at all. I thought you were just some weirdo who could create chimera beasts. Looks like I miscalculated. Before he could finish, Eugene grabbed him by the throat. Galfred ending up like this, was it you? What are you talking about? I just saw how badly you wanted to see him, so I specially brought you to him. But toward me, your benefactor, you're even ruder than the rumors. As Lugat spoke, he clamped onto Eugene's arm, and actually forced Eugene's arm up by brute strength. Eugene's heart sank. This monstrous strength, what is going on? In the next moment, he yanked his arm back hard, and retreated to Romari's side. Suddenly, a patch of ruins surfaced on the back of Lugat's hand. Seeing those ruins, Romari's face instantly went deathly pale. Mr. Eugene, if I'm not mistaken, that pattern is a magic formula that can inherit another person's power. It was originally used to transmit power between humans, but later someone used it to inherit non-human power, so this magic was completely banned. This is forbidden magic. Forbidden magic? Lugats burst into laughter. Absurd. That's just an excuse made up by people who want to monopolize power. We are the chosen ones. When despair descends upon the world, we will be chosen by God and live to the very end. Before he could finish, he was cut off by Eugene's cold voice. So you borrowed other people's power to beat Galfred, and you still dare brag in front of me as if it were your own skill. Then I'll make you understand what the difference really is between borrowed power and your own. After Eugene spoke, the power throughout his entire body erupted, and he lunged straight at Lugats. Romari was shaken at the side. Since when could an ordinary vampire release magic power of this level? Before she could finish the thought, the two surges of magic power were already grinding against each other head-on. Looks like you've been hiding your strength all along. But you're not the only one hiding strength. As Lugat spoke, he thrust a palm into Eugene's lower abdomen. In the next moment, Eugene was forcibly blasted back by that strike. I will not only stop hiding my strength, I also won't show mercy here. As his words fell, the labyrinth floor suddenly collapsed. Eugene and Romari fell straight down into the depths. I believe I said this, all the traps in this labyrinth have been cracked by us. Now, just go die obediently, Yen Eugene. Romari. Before Eugene could finish speaking, a magic circle suddenly lit up beneath their feet. Using it to rebound, he lunged back at Lugats, but the stone wall was closing. In the next moment, Eugene raised his sword and thrust violently at Lugats. The long sword pierced straight through the stone wall, though it cut Lugat's cheek open. It failed to take his life, and Eugene and the two of them fell into the abyss once again. After confirming that Eugene really had fallen, Lugats actually let out a breath. I've always heard people say he's strong. I didn't expect him to be strong to this extent. If we fought head-on, I might not be able to win. Not killing Galfred directly, but using him as bait, was probably the most correct choice of my life. Such a strong sacrifice, it will definitely be satisfied. Meanwhile, on Eugene's side, because Romari kept using magic to cushion their fall, the two of them reached the bottom of the labyrinth without any real danger. But the moment they landed, Eugene sprinted madly toward an even deeper area. Romari was horrified. Mr. Eugene, where are you going? Don't leave me behind. As she shouted, she turned around and dug her staff out of the rubble. Mr. Eugene, wait for me. But in the next moment, she froze. Eugene was already back in front of her, holding Galfred in his arms. Can you save him? Healing magic isn't my specialty. That isn't the answer I wanted to hear. I'll do my best. Just then, Miriam also jumped out, saying there were no exits anywhere nearby. This looks like the deepest part of the labyrinth, a sealed boss chamber. More importantly, this is what I wanted to tell you earlier. The water energy here is absurdly dense. I originally thought I'd feel as comfortable as if I were home. But unfortunately, I can't control anything here at all, especially that pool of blood that doesn't fit in. Logically, I should only be able to control the blood of the dead, so I'm guessing the owner of this blood is still alive. And these things on the walls. I'm guessing this is the thing Romari saw deeper in. Just then, the labyrinth began to shake violently again. A minotaur could be seen slowly crawling out of the pool of blood. That overwhelmingly oppressive figure stood in front of Eugene and the others. Romari, keep an eye on Galfred. Miriam, do your utmost to find a way out. After saying that, Eugene raised his sword and charged at the minotaur. The minotaur roared and raised its palm, and in the next moment, slammed it down at Eugene. With that blow, blood and shattered stones splashed everywhere. Then golden magic power began to gather in the minotaur's mouth again. In the next second, the golden light blasted toward Eugene. For a time, Eugene could only keep dodging. Suddenly, several blood spears condensed from the pool of blood and stabbed toward Eugene in an instant. Eugene's pupils shrank sharply, and he immediately twisted aside to evade. After several rapid dodges, he barely managed to pull some distance from the Minotaur. Eugene was shaken inside, a legendary tier Minotaur, truly troublesome. The broken sword in his hand had been shortened by another segment from blocking, since an ordinary sword couldn't even cut its hide. In the next moment, the blood in Eugene's body began to gather toward the broken blade. Almost instantly, the broken sword turned into a blood-red curved blade. This will have to do for now. In the next moment, Eugene closed in at point-blank range on the Minotaur. The curved blade chopped down viciously. In an instant, more than a dozen wounds appeared on the Minotaur's body. But the wounds were too shallow. Aside from enraging it, they were almost meaningless. In the next second, Eugene was slapped flying by the Minotaur's palm. His body smashed heavily into the rock wall. Seeing this, the Minotaur actually showed an almost human, mocking smile. Seeing Eugene fall, Romari's heart trembled. Mr. Eugene, he can't hold on much longer. Galfred still showed no sign of waking. Mr. Galfred, can you hear me? Your close friend is in danger. Please wake up. It seems Romari was right earlier. Even among high-tier monsters, the tiers of power can be completely different. Just then, the Minotaur showed that kind of smile again. In the next moment, it began to chant an unknown spell, and countless blood spears rose from the pool of blood once more. But this time, the target wasn't Eugene. It was Romari and the two of them on the other side. Eugene's heart sank hard. In the next moment, he directly stepped in front of Romari. A deep sense of powerlessness surged up from the bottom of Eugene's heart. That feeling, he had been familiar with it for more than 10 years. And he had always thought he'd long since gotten used to it. But he didn't understand why. Why was it that this feeling, which should have been long familiar, now made him feel pain, and pain worse than at any time in the past? Why, exactly, was that? On the other side, seeing Eugene's body pierced through right in front of her by the Minotaur. This was exactly why Romari had tried desperately to stop Eugene earlier. Because she knew very well, even a vampire could not possibly defeat a legendary Minotaur. I'm sorry, teacher, it looks like your disciple is going to die here. Just then, Galfred woke up. I'm truly sorry. I'm the one who dragged you into something like this. That's not true, back then, if it weren't for you. But before Romari could finish, Galfred cut her off. That bastard Lugats was after me from the very beginning. He kept using me as bait, all to lure Mr. Eugene here. From the start, the one he had his eye on was Mr. Eugene. Because I went around saying I was his close friend. I'm the one who let things get dragged into this. This is all my fault, because I'm too weak. Coughing up blood, Galfred walked toward Eugene step by step. Back then, when I saw that powerful strength in your heart and body, I was drawn to you in an instant. I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to become strong enough to stand by your side. But now, it's all over. I never thought our relationship would end before it even began. Wait, Mr. Galfred. Romari chased after him as she shouted. But in the next moment, she was flung away by Galfred with a single throw. Run, Lady Romari, if you can. Please forgive me, Mr. Eugene. If there is a next life, I am willing to become a knight who serves you. As Galfred's words fell, a terrifying surge of magic power suddenly erupted in the chamber. Eugene raised his hand and gripped the blood spear that had pierced him, hard. In the next moment, the blood spear shattered in his palm. Immediately after, the blood all around surged in like a tide, crazily repairing his body. His eyes were swallowed by darkness, leaving only bottomless crimson. In the next moment, he pounced on the Minotaur. In almost a single breath, the Minotaur's arm was severed by Eugene. The Minotaur flew into a rage. Its eyes locked dead on the man who had cut off its arm. Then a beast-like low growl came from Eugene's throat. In the next moment, even the blood that even a water spirit could not control began to gather toward him. Romari watched, her scalp going numb. The pool of blood around us, it's actually responding to Mr. Eugene. And his body looks like it's undergoing some kind of metamorphosis. He can't possibly be an ordinary vampire. Could he be the legendary? Just then, the Minotaur swung its scythe and charged at Eugene. Eugene raised his hand and gathered magic power in his palm. In the next second, he split the Minotaur in two with a single blow. Romari thought it was finally over. But the pupil on the rock wall suddenly opened and fired a crimson beam, shining onto the Minotaur's remains. The Minotaur that had been cut in half actually began to forcibly fuse back together in the red light. And in the blink of an eye it recovered as if nothing had happened. Romari felt a chill in her heart. Even for a high-tier monster, this recovery was far too outrageous. Is this the Minotaur's power? But Eugene had already noticed the source of that abnormal magic power in the chamber. He instantly rushed in front of it and smashed it with a kick. Soon, Eugene shattered another one. Like this, while dodging the Minotaur's fierce assaults, he destroyed the eyeballs all around. But not only did the abnormal magic power not weaken, it grew denser and denser instead. At this moment, Eugene finally understood. This Minotaur was not the Labyrinth Lord at all. The Evergreen family clearly said they had mastered all the labyrinth traps, yet people still disappeared on every expedition. They didn't disappear, they were swallowed by the labyrinth and became nourishment for it. In other words, this entire labyrinth itself was the Labyrinth Lord, and also the god they worshipped. Meanwhile, the temple knights on the other side had fallen into fervent prayer. God has already grown wrathful and has commanded that this land be eradicated completely. The only one who can stop all this is the Messiah. Messiah, step forward. Please send down the rain of redemption and have mercy on this land. We have already opened your eyes. Now please hear our prayers. The instant the ritual was completed, the entire pool of blood was sucked dry in an instant by the object at the center. Countless threads of blood turned into magic power and coiled around it, compressing without ceasing, until at last they condensed into an eyeball. In the next second, the eyeball shot straight into the Minotaur's body, then burst out from its chest. Even more terrifying magic power exploded around it, and 3 pairs of wings formed from magic power grew from its back. In the next moment, it violently flapped its enormous wings and rose into the air. Ramari cried out, "Where is it going?" The Minotaur charged straight toward the top of the labyrinth. Amid an ear-splitting roar, it smashed through the labyrinth and flew straight out. Ramari stared, dumbfounded. A high-tier monster actually escaped the labyrinth? There are towns outside, what should I do? Just then, Miriam flew over and shouted excitedly, "I found an exit. But why is there an exit here too? I remember there wasn't one before. What is going on? And it looks like this place is about to collapse. Lord Eugene, we have to leave immediately." But before it could finish, it saw Galfred's body, pierced through by countless blood spears. How did he end up like this? But Eugene merely walked forward in silence. No one answered. He raised his hand and gently brushed across Galfred's face. An emotion that had never appeared in him before, something called sorrow, suddenly surged up. Ramari stared in a daze. A vampire. Why would he grieve for a mortal's death? Why would he disguise himself as a knight, hide his vampire identity, and still form ties with humans? He clearly possesses such noble blood. In the next moment she jolted. Eugene, at this very moment, was slowly baring his fangs toward Galfred's neck. And at this time, the Minotaur also reached the outskirts of the town. A piercing, grating screech came from its mouth. In the next moment, the moon was dyed crimson. But the people in the town had no awareness of it at all. By now, Ramari had confirmed it. Eugene possessed the legendary bloodline. The progenitor bloodline. The progenitor is the highest and most noble kind of vampire. When I first met you, I didn't dare be sure, but now I'm sure. You must have the bloodline of a progenitor vampire. Progenitors can revive someone who has just died, and make him their subordinate. You know what to do, right? Hearing this, Eugene's heart sank hard. He cast his gaze toward Galfred, who had just died beside him. Of course I know what to do. Bite his neck and feed him my blood. But if I really do that, can his mind endure it? Eugene told Ramari his concerns. Ramari nodded. Most people do break down, that's true. But I think Galfred might be different. My teacher once said, if the other person's will is firm enough, then even upon receiving the progenitor's blood, they can remain lucid. They might even retain the abilities they had as a human. The only problem is, he's an upright knight. He may feel that being reborn as a vampire is an insult. If so, he may turn and attack us instead. Eugene fell silent. I never told him my true identity. He was once very enthusiastic toward me, but I have no idea what he thinks of vampires. But I have no other path. Then I'll ask him directly. In the next moment, Eugene bit into Galfred's neck. Through his fangs, he continuously injected his blood into Galfred's body. Just then, information about the embrace ritual suddenly surfaced in his mind. The recipient would belong to the master. Under the embrace ritual, the recipient's soul shall belong to my lord, and all power within this body shall likewise belong to my lord. At the moment the inheritance ended, a terrifying surge of magic power suddenly erupted in the chamber. It was magic power Galfred could not endure. It blasted outward in all directions, finally condensing into a dazzling pillar of light, piercing straight through the labyrinth and shooting into the night sky. At the same time, the town had already become purgatory. Screams and wails merged into one. The labyrinth collapsed. Countless monsters poured out, slaughtering wantonly throughout the town. It has finally come. Lugatz watched this living hell, a sickly smile rising on his face. The moment I sacrifice everything and claim my reward has finally arrived. These stupid humans will never know. All of this was planned by me together with the labyrinth. A little more despair, even more despair. Only when they are at their most desperate, and I then step forward to slay the Minotaur, only then can I become the savior. I have offered up so many sacrifices. At last it's my turn to collect my reward. More despair, more despair. Let it all become the steps by which I ascend to godhood. But in the next moment, his smile froze. Eugene had arrived. He took a step forward and grabbed the Minotaur by the skull. In the next instant, he tore it open with his bare hands on the spot. The mother and daughter in front of him were completely stunned, and in the boy's eyes an admiring light burned even brighter. Watching from afar, Lugat's mind fell into chaos. Didn't I offer him up as the final sacrifice? Then why is he still alive? Didn't the Minotaur grow stronger by absorbing his blood? No, that doesn't make sense. The Minotaur must have absorbed his power, otherwise it couldn't have appeared here. Could it be that he became even stronger at death's door? If that's the case, then what in the world is he? You look quite troubled, Lugats, but none of that matters, because you will pay for your sins here. As the words fell, Galfred appeared behind Lugats. The entire watchtower was instantly blasted into collapse by a single strike from Galfred. I didn't expect you didn't die either. This is very interesting. Because I knew you'd miss me. Now, are you ready to bear my wrath? Lugats, I believe you're already prepared.